Chapter 17:11. House Kong, Xiao family, and in family left the meeting room. Other than the dead House Yu, only House Chun, House Song, House Lu, House Wu, House Yang, and House Sun were left. Chapter 17:13. From today onwards, the title of Noble House is gone. Does anyone have any objections? Lin Yi looked at the heads of the noble houses. No. Lu Zhenhu was the first to agree. He knew that the title of noble house was useless now. What happened today would soon spread out, and the leader and judge of noble houses, House Yu, would become a joke in history. These noble houses were all chosen by House Yu, and now that House Yu was gone, what noble house was left? The houses that were close to Lin Yi, even without the title of noble house, were still powerful. On the other hand, the houses that were enemies with Lin Yi, like the three that just left, were destined to lose their former glory, even if they still had the title of noble house. Of course not. The era of House Yu is over, and us old guys should step down. House will be in charge of Qintian from now on, and I'm going to focus on my training. Wu Gonggao was a sly old fox, and he knew that his grandson recognized Lin Yi as his boss. It didn't matter if House Wu was still a noble house or not. They wouldn't be at a disadvantage. And so, Wu Gonggao agreed with Lin Yi. Saint, I'm fine with it too. Chen Quanlan followed. House Chun will be in Yu Tian's hands. I heard that you and Huaijuan used to be teammates. Of course, the Yang family agrees. Yang Daocha also expressed his opinion. You're Shanshan's boyfriend, right? Then we're a family, of course. I'll leave Shanshan in your care from now on. And we, House Song, hope that you can help us as well. Song Xiangwen was even more sly, guessing the relationship between the two from the moment Lin Yi and Ling Shan entered the meeting room together. That can't be, right? Old Song. He is obviously my Jingyi's boyfriend. How did he become your Shanshan's boyfriend? Old Master Sun heard Song Xiangwen's words and immediately became unhappy. Previously, he was very dissatisfied with Sun Jingyi's private boyfriend. Although he heard that Sun Jingyi's boyfriend was a wandering cultivator and a mystic stage master, he only agreed to let Sun Jingyi bring Lin Yi to meet him when Lin Yi agreed to marry into her family. But now Old Man Sun had met Lin Yi, and it was under such circumstances. As for the so-called son-in-law, Old Man Sun didn't want to mention it. Now, even a fool could see how popular Lin Yi was and how useful he was to these families. Now, all the noble houses were showing their goodwill to Lin Yi, and Lin Yi had already become the core existence that replaced House Yu, so Elder Sun didn't want to be outdone. Before, he wanted Sun Jingyi to see if there were any young men in the noble house meeting. Wasn't this Lin Yi a young man? The young man was right in front of them. How is that possible? Shanshan, tell me, is your boyfriend this Master Lin Yi? Xiangwen asked Ling Shan. Jingyi, isn't he the boyfriend you're talking about? Elder Sun didn't back down. Ling Shan and Sun Jingyi, on the other hand, were blushing. Neither of them were Lin Yi's girlfriends. Ling Shan was pursuing Lin Yi, and Sun Jingyi was pretending. How were they supposed to answer this? I'm Shield Bro's small wife. Plus, Shield Bro has 3 wives, 2 big wives, and 2 small wives. What are you two fighting for? What are you two fighting for? They're just queuing up. Yushu said. Huh? Both Song Xiangwen and Old Man Sun were stunned. They didn't know why Lin Yi called him Shield Bro, but the person Yushu was talking about was most likely Lin Yi. And Lin Yi already had 4 wives? His granddaughter had to queue up? Xiangwen frowned at the thought. How could Hao Song's granddaughter be someone else's small wife? She had to queue up? Elder Sun, on the other hand, had the same thought. He looked at Jingyi suspiciously. Man, it's good to have a granddaughter of this age. I want to marry my granddaughter to Lin Yi, but there's none. Wu Qintian sighed. His words were like a wake-up call. Song Xiangwen and Old Master Sun immediately came back to their senses. Yes, Lin Yi was an Earth class. He was on the same level as the masters of the hidden houses. Marrying his granddaughter to him wasn't a bad thing. And now, it seemed like Lin Yi had replaced House Yu as the strongest force among the noble houses. Although he was only one person, he wasn't alone. He had a few followers, and they were all heirs of the noble houses. Fine, I'll queue up first, Xiangwen said quickly, afraid that he wouldn't even have the chance to queue up. Why'd he have to queue up first? House Sun isn't that bad either. Elder Sun wasn't happy. All right, you two old masters, stop fighting. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Was he the hot commodity now? But Lin Yi didn't come here to find a wife. He wanted to build up his own force. And so Lin Yi waved his hand to stop the two. Shan, Jingyi, and I are good friends. As for relationships, let's just let it be. Let's not talk about it for now. What I want to say today is that the noble houses are canceled, but I'm preparing to set up a practitioners association. I want to invite all the noble houses to participate. What do you all think? I've already said that Chun Tian will be in charge of House Wu from now onwards. I won't participate, Gong Gao said immediately. No matter what Lin Yi suggested, he would agree. Gong Gao wasn't an idiot. Chun Tian went from a golden class to a mystic late-phase, peak spiritual practitioner. He wouldn't believe it if he said that it wasn't because of Lin Yi, and so House Wu naturally agreed with Lin Yi's decision. Behind Gong Gao, Wu Qingdi, on the other hand, had a look of disappointment in his eyes. Ever since Chun Tian revealed his mystic late-phase peak strength, he had been disappointed again and again. The gap between him and Chun Tian was too big. He would never be able to catch up to Chun Tian, but he didn't want to accept it. Why was Chun Tian so lucky? How did he get to meet such a good boss like Lin Yi? How did he get his strength? Why did all the good things belong to Chun Tian? Ever since he was young, whether it was in House Wu or outside, it was the same. Chapter 17:12. And so, Chun-Yi was deeply dissatisfied, but he knew where he stood. He could only lower his head and keep quiet. Holy Hall Chun-Yi didn't understand why Chun Tian was so lucky, and why was fate so unfair. He wanted to turn things around, but under the current circumstances, he could only swallow his anger and pretend to be happy, with a fake smile on his face. House Chun, naturally, has nothing to say. Yu Tian is grown up, and we'll let him make the decisions. Chun Quanglon was very happy today. This sudden change made him realize that his grandson had not only grown up, but most importantly, he had met a benefactor. He could finally relax. Hao Song's boy hasn't grown up yet, but Shan can still make the decisions for now. Song Xiangwen expressed his support as well. Even an idiot could tell that Lin Yi's Cultivators Association was similar to the noble houses of old, just with a different name. As long as one was a member of the association, they would still be like a noble house in the future, and with Lin Yi's protection, it would be even more glorious than before, and the number of practitioners and strength would increase. We don't have any objections. We don't have practitioners, but if Miracle Dr. Lin doesn't mind, we're willing to join as well. Jinhu smiled. Miracle Dr. Lin has a good relationship with my boss, Lu Tianyi. I'm sure there won't be any problems in communicating with him. House Yang has no objections. We'll let Yang Huaijun make the decisions in the future. It's time for me to retire, Yang Daocha said. Now, only House Sun was left. Although the old man of House Sun was in favor of the idea, when the families expressed their stance, they sent a person who could maintain their relationship with Lin Yi. In other words, it was the spokesperson of the family in the Practitioners Association. In fact, it was equivalent to the existence of the head of the family. However, Elder Sun couldn't decide who to let take on this role. Although Sun Jingyi's surname was Sun, she didn't have the same surname. She was different from Song Lingshan. The male heir of House Song was too young to take on the role, so he let Song Lingshan take the role temporarily. However, the two males of the Sun family weren't young anymore. If Sun Jingyi were to play this role, there would be no reason to replace her in the future. This put Old Master Sun in a difficult position. For a moment, he couldn't make a decision. He looked up at Sun Jingyi. Sun Jingyi had roughly guessed her grandfather's difficulties, but she didn't care about it. She didn't want to control the Sun family. So he smiled and said, "Ikai, haven't you met Lin Yi and got along well with him? In the future, you will be responsible for contacting the Sun family. There are too many things in my company. I don't have time. Sanctuary." Okay. Sun Ikai was overjoyed. He didn't think that Sun Jingyi would speak up for him. In fact, with his position in House Sun, it was quite awkward. There was a big brother above him, and he was a straightforward person. He wasn't suitable to be the head of the house. However, with one sentence from Sun Jingyi, the awkwardness was solved. Sun Ikai, this is the third time we meet, right? Lin Yi smiled. Yes, what should I call you in the future? Brother-in-law? Sun Ikai smiled. It was funny when he thought about it. When he first met Lin Yi, he said that he would protect Lin Yi and make Lin Yi look for him if there was any trouble. But in the blink of an eye, Lin Yi had replaced House Yu and became the #1 practitioner in the common world. Just call me Lin Yi. Lin Yi said lightly. Your sister is a smart person. I'm just her shield. When there's trouble, she looks for me. When there's nothing, she doesn't look for me. It seems like I'm fated to be a shield bro. Lin Yi's words made the atmosphere lighten up. Everyone finally understood why Yushu called Lin Yi shield bro. So this was what she meant. Then, I'll call you boss like Chun Tian and the others. Sun Ikai decided to be the same as everyone else. Since Chun Tian and Yu Tian were calling him that, then he should be calling him that. Huh, Lin Yi smiled. Actually, the reason why I set up this guild is simple. It's to unite everyone, and I'll help someone in your family level up quickly. I believe you've all seen the changes in Chun Tian, Yu Tian, and Ling Shan's strength, but each family only has one spot. We'll consider adding more in the future. Lin Yi could only help his confidence level up. Naturally, Lin Yi wouldn't use the art of dragon mastery on anyone else. It was a matter of loyalty, and if word got out, it'd be bad for his own safety. Everyone suspected that Lin Yi had something to do with Chun Tian, Yu Tian, and Ling Shan's sudden increase in strength, but hearing it from Lin Yi's own mouth was still shocking and regretful. Each family only had one spot. This meant that only Chun Tian, Chun Yu Tian, Ling Shan, Huaijuan, and Sun Jingyi could receive Lin Yi's help. As for House Lu, they didn't have any practitioners yet, so they didn't think too much about it. The one who felt the most regretful was Sun Ikai. He knew that Lin Yi would definitely give his spot to Sun Jingyi. Out of all the representatives, only his situation was special. But it didn't matter. Lin Yi said that he could add more spots in the future. This meant that he still had a chance. Looking at the excited faces, Lin Yi continued, Actually, I'm sure you all know who I am. I'm a doctor, but my other identity is a refiner. This is also why I can help people level up so quickly. But my energy and level are limited. I can't do it all the time. Lin Yi attributed his art of dragon mastery to the fact that he was an elixir refiner. His identity as an elixir refiner had already been exposed once when he was hiding in House Tang, so it wasn't a big deal. After all, elixir refiners were rare, but it wasn't a big deal. But if Lin Yi said that he could transfer pure qi to others, it'd be a big deal if word got out. Lin Yi was afraid of being captured and used as a lab rat. But a refiner was different. There was no point in capturing one because any practitioner with a brain would know that not everyone could become a refiner. There was no point in capturing one. Moreover, there was an unwritten rule in the Jianghu. An alchemist's status was a notch above others. No family or sect would kidnap an alchemist and force him to refine pills for them. This was equivalent to breaking the rules of the Jianghu. Chapter 17:13. Since you can take it, then fine. My sect is stronger than yours, so I'll take the refiner from your hands. It'll be a mess. Plus, refiners didn't usually work alone, but as a group. There are almost no rogue cultivators who became alchemists. Almost every alchemist had a master or sect, and their masters or sects all had powerful connections. This was also the reason why no one dared to force alchemists to become alchemists. Holy Church and so Lin Yi made up the identity of a refiner so that his opponents wouldn't notice him. Refiner. After Lin Yi announced his identity, everyone present was in an uproar. Although alchemists were famous in the ancient times, and almost every sect had dealings with alchemists, the noble houses and hidden houses, especially the normal noble houses, had never seen an alchemist in their entire lives. They were existences of legends, and now one was sitting in front of them. Chun Tian, Yu Tian, and Ling Shan didn't react much, since they already knew about Lin Yi's plan. The others, however, were different. especially Sun Jingyi. She realized that she didn't understand Lin Yi at all. Lin Yi was an elixir refiner? Wasn't this too shocking? Had he been in all kinds of industries before? House Liu, on the other hand, was enlightened. Liu Qianni sighed. No, a wonder miracle Dr. Lin's medical skills are so amazing to be able to create such a shocking pill, like the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. So he's a refiner. House Liu knew that the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing was made by Lin Yi, but the other noble houses didn't. Now that they heard that the pill that had caused such a commotion at the auction was made by Lin Yi, realization dawned on them. As expected, Xuemin didn't have that kind of skill. They hadn't seen him produce any special pills in the past few years, and he'd always been suppressed by Dr. Kang's name. It was only recently that he'd suddenly become famous, and it was all because of Lin Yi. All right, if there's nothing else, you may leave. I'll contact the people in charge of the other houses. Lin Yi didn't really care about the crowd shock. His main goal here was to destroy House Yu, and secondly, to gather the strength of the other noble houses. At this point, Lin Yi had no more obstacles on the level of noble houses. He could calm down and think about the hidden House Yu and House Zhao's matters. The meeting of the noble houses ended abruptly on the first day. It felt a little anticlimactic, but the hearts of the people who came were heavy and happy at the same time. The power structure of the noble houses was about to change. House Xiao, House In, and House Kong were kicked out of the alliance by Lin Yi, and they wouldn't let it go easily. St. Hall, but no matter what, this wasn't something they had to worry about. They had to think about the benefits of their own houses. Now that House Yu had been replaced by Lin Yi, they didn't lose anything at all. Instead, they gained even more benefits, especially if they could make friends with Lin Yi, an Earth-class early-phase alchemist. This was a good thing no matter what. In a hotel not far from House Yu's auction, the two brothers from Family Xiao and House King's Dr. Kong, as well as Kong Guifeng, sat there. Although the two houses had some conflicts and disagreements before, they were all in the same predicament now. They sat together, ready to discuss their future plans. Originally, they wanted a rope in house, but Mingyue and Zhang Wen clearly had no interest in participating in their business. It was as if the title of a noble house wasn't important to Housen. In fact, this was also the case. These aristocratic families wanted the title of an aristocratic family so that they could get the attention of other aristocratic families when doing business. However, the family's business was the kind that couldn't be seen in the light. Having the title of an aristocratic family made them a little more fearful. So without the title of a noble house, they didn't really care. House Xiao and House Kong, on the other hand, were different. House Kong desperately wanted to enter the ranks of the noble houses because they were an alliance led by House Yu. They helped each other, and only then would they be able to do well in each other's territory. Now, that Family Xiao was kicked out of the noble house circle, they couldn't count on the other noble houses to take care of them anymore. Although they had the support of the Hidden House Pai, those who had the support of Lin Yi wouldn't give the Xiao family any face. It would be hard for them to develop in the future. And so, Xiao Bin pulled Xiao Ji along with him and started to sit with Dr. Kong and Kong Guifeng, the two slightly unhappy people. Lin Yi, even the Hidden House Pai, can't do anything to him. Looking at Xiao Ji and Xiao Bin, Dr. Kong asked helplessly. He knew a thing or two about what happened between Lin Yi and the Xiao family. He knew that 3 people from House Pai died, but they didn't do anything to Lin Yi. He didn't understand. This Lin Yi might have a big background behind him. The Hidden House Pai warned us not to mess with Lin Yi, but now it's a situation where we have no choice but to mess with him. Xiao Ji humphed. After being forced by him, our Xiao family's business, which had just started to get better, is going to be finished. We can only retreat back to Songshan, and this is Lin Yi's base. Yeah, you guys are making money for the Hidden House Pai. Now that something like this happened, they can't just ignore you, right? Kong Guifeng asked. All right, let's not talk about this for now. Xiao Bin was a smart man. He waved his hand and didn't answer Kong Guifeng's question. He knew that Kong Guifeng wanted him to go get revenge on House Pai, but House Pai had already expressed their stance on this. Although it affected House Pai's profits, Xiao Bin still didn't have the confidence to make House Pai help. He wanted to test House Kang's trump card. I say, House Kong, this time you want to become a noble house. So you've prepared well, right? What's your bargaining chip to become a noble house? You don't need to be so guarded against me. I want House Pai to help, but this reason isn't enough. Something that doesn't benefit them is something that a hidden noble house wouldn't do easily. You understand? All right, if that's the case, then I'll tell you the truth. Dr. Kong said, do you remember the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing? Of course I remember. What's wrong? Xiao Bin asked calmly. House Kong is currently researching the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. If we can get rid of the obstacle that is Lin Yi, we can work together. I believe that with the recipe in our hands, even the hidden noble houses will respect us. Dr. Kong said. Chapter 17:14. Oh, so you've developed it already? Xiao Bin asked, surprised. Not quite there yet. Dr. Kong shook his head. But you can tell the hidden House Pai that I'll give them priority once we've developed it, as long as they support us. That's good. I'll ask the hidden House Pai for their opinion. Xiao Bin sighed. But I can't promise anything. All right, we've had some misunderstandings in the past, but now we should let bygones be bygones and work together. That's the only way we can fight against Lin Yi's alliance. Kong Guifeng said. That marriage between our two families. I think we can continue with it. Kong Guifeng was thinking further. If Xiaolong were to marry Xinyan, that would solidify his position in House Kong, since House Kong and Xiao family's interests were intertwined. It was undeniable that a marriage was a huge bargaining chip. That's something I can consider, but we'll talk about it after we get through this. Xiao Bin didn't decline. It was just a marriage between a niece with a different surname and House Kong. After all, he couldn't be too calculated with House Kong right now. Moreover, if the Kong family really managed to develop the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, then their status would skyrocket. The effects of the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing were practically on par with the legendary bone cleansing and marrow cleansing pill. In actuality, the bone cleansing and marrow cleansing pill was called the Greater Foundation Establishment Pill and the Lesser Foundation Establishment Pill. The pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, on the other hand, seemed to be even more effective than the Foundation Establishment Pill. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been sold at such a high price in the auction. The Foundation Establishment Pill could only refine one's body, and it couldn't extend one's lifespan. The pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, on the other hand, could do the trick. All right. The bigger picture is more important. Dr. Kong nodded. Our House Kong will be waiting for your good news. At the same time, something big happened in Songshan. Sihua brought his men to the orphanage and reported the matter to Zhao Qibing after the discussion with the headmaster broke down. Qibing wasn't feeling too good right now. He'd lost a couple $100 million to Bloodcloak Yellow Springs sect for no reason. He couldn't afford to offend them, but a small orphanage wasn't something he would put in his eyes. Sihua, take Boss Zhu with you and burn that orphanage down. Damn it, I'm giving them face, but they don't want it. This time, I'll make them lose everything. Zhao Qibing slammed the table angrily. He really felt suffocated. Ever since he came to Songshan, other than getting a qi gathering pill for House Zhao, he had accomplished nothing else. Holy Church becoming the head of the hidden house, Zhao, wasn't something that could be achieved with just one qi gathering pill. One had to have other abilities, and so Qibing had been earning money nonstop. Yes, Sihua nodded. Then I'll bring some men to prepare. Do it cleanly. Don't leave any evidence behind. Qibing said, remember, burn it cleanly, burn all the houses in the orphanage. If they can still live after the fire is extinguished, it'll be hard to do it again. Don't worry, Master Bing. I'm good at this. Sihua patted his chest and promised. How about this? You get ready, I'll light the fire myself. Qibing had a fire in his heart that he hadn't vented yet, and he wanted to light the fire himself to vent it. No problem. I prepared everything. Master Bing, you just need to light the fire, Sihua said. And so, on a dark and windy night, Qibing brought Sihua and Boss Zhu to the orphanage. There was a large amount of gasoline in the back of Sihua's pickup truck, prepared to burn the orphanage down. Very well, this is a good day. The weather is dry, the moon is dark, and the wind is strong. It's a good day to set a fire, Qibing said. Boss Zhu, go pour the gasoline. Pour as much as you can. The bigger the fire, the better. No problem. Boss Zhu got out of the car and jumped into the orphanage with a huge barrel of gasoline. Boss Zhu was an Earth-class master, and the orphanage's director and Xiaoka naturally wouldn't be able to sense his presence. So, Boss Zhu went back and forth a few times, pouring all the gasoline into the orphanage and the surrounding fences. Everything's ready. Master Bing, you can light the fire now, Boss Zhu said. Well done. Qibing got out of the car with a torch in his hand, and with a whoosh, he threw it into the orphanage's yard. He then took a few more torches from Sihua and threw them all into the orphanage. The inside of the orphanage was instantly set ablaze. Huh, I'm leaving after I'm done. Qibing clapped his hands and said happily. Setting the orphanage on fire today made him feel a lot better. Before, he was bullied by Lin Yi's follower, Wu Qintian, and he couldn't take revenge. Although his broken leg was healed by Elder Bai, the incident with Blood Cloak and Yellow Spring Sect made him want to die. Today, with the release of the fire, the depression in his chest had finally dissipated by more than half. Qibing and Boss Zhu got in the car, and Sihua stepped on the gas, and the truck disappeared into the night and the fire. Such a big fire. The orphanage will be destroyed tomorrow, for sure, Sihua said as he looked in the rearview mirror. This is too good. No wonder there are so many stress-relieving amusement parks. People go and destroy them. It's so fun. Qibing said excitedly. I really want to burn another house. Ha! When the head of the house comes out, we'll go burn Lin Yi's villa, Sihua said. We'll get even with him then. Fuck, no wonder Lin Yi likes to tear down my skyscraper. It's so fun. Qibing said regretfully. I can't tear down a skyscraper. It'd be fun too. Qibing and the others returned to the floating cloud bar and quickly fell asleep in excitement. The orphanage, on the other hand, was extremely busy. The first one to notice something was wrong was Xiaoka. She was depressed, but she had been sleeping late these past few days. She was sure that she was lovesick, and the image of the male thief kept appearing in her mind, causing her to have insomnia. In the middle of the night, she dreamt of the male thief, and when she woke up, she saw the fire outside her window. She jumped in fright and rushed out of her house, only to find that the yard and the roof were on fire. Chapter 17:16. The building is burned too? Xiaoka couldn't care less about the things in her room anymore. She quickly went to wake the dean up. Oh no, there's a fire? School Beauty's Bodyguard, Chapter 17:16. The dean was a light sleeper and was woken up by Xiaoka's voice. She was shocked when she saw the situation outside. Quick, go save the children. And so, Xiaoka and the dean quickly rushed into the children's dormitory. Fortunately, both of them were descendants of the Fiend sect. Although they were in a sea of fire, they could always find a place to stay. The two of them risked their lives to rescue the children in the orphanage. Behind them, the orphanage was already a vast sea of fire. The wind was strong today, and the air was dry, so the fire was out of control. From the orphanage, it was already spreading to other areas. After saving the children, Xiaoka finally reacted. Yes, let's call the fire department. The orphanage is going to burn. In the rush, the dean didn't bring her phone, and the orphanage was right next to the construction site of the slums. On the other side was the business district, but the shops were all closed at night, and it was hard to find a single person. The dean looked around for a long time before finding a public phone booth to call the fire department. But by then, the fire had already spread to the construction site of the slums next to the orphanage. By the time the piercing sound of the fire engine sounded, the fire was already out of control. Although a number of fire trucks came to support, due to the strong wind and the large fire, there were a lot of flammable items piled up on the construction site of the shantytown, such as wooden cubes and the like. As a result, the fire grew bigger and bigger. It was not until dawn that the fire was extinguished. Qibing, Sihua, and Boss Zhu on the other hand, had a good night's sleep. When they woke up the next morning, Qibing couldn't wait to get Sihua to turn on the TV. Quick, look at the new. The orphanage is probably in ruins now. Haha, that's for sure. Sihua nodded and turned on the TV. The three of them sat on the sofa, ready to watch the destruction of the orphanage. Around 1 in the morning, a huge fire broke out in the orphanage near the old slums. When the firefighters arrived, the fire was already out of control, and it started to spread to the construction site nearby. After the firefighters' hard work, they finally extinguished the fire at 7 this morning. But the orphanage, as well as the newly built Qibing skyscraper, were all burnt to ashes. Following the news, there was a scene of the orphanage and Qibing skyscraper being burnt down. God. Qibing heard the news and jumped up with a whoosh. He looked at the news in disbelief. Impossible. How is this possible? My skyscraper. Sihua and Boss Zhu had a bitter look on their faces as well. They didn't think that burning the orphanage would burn down the Qibing skyscraper next to it. And the most important thing was that the newly built skyscraper hadn't even been used for a day. Who can tell me what's going on? Qibing kicked the TV angrily, shattering the LCD TV. It fell to the ground, creating sparks. But Qibing didn't care. How much was a TV? What he cared about now was the Qibing skyscraper. This skyscraper had been destroyed twice since it was built. The first 2 times were caused by Lin Yi, but the third time he burned it down with his own hands. This, Master Bing, we didn't know that it would affect the Qibing skyscraper next to it. Sihua was troubled as well. I just followed your instructions and found a weather that would be easy to set fire to. Master Bing, I'm just following your orders, pouring the gasoline. Boss Zhu said with a bitter face. Neither he nor Sihua were experts in this field, nor did they have any experience. How was Sihua supposed to calculate the intensity of the fire? Boss Zhu, on the other hand, couldn't have predicted that the intensity of the fire would affect the Qibing skyscraper. It's not your fault. Qibing waved his hand helplessly and sat on the ground. He should have given more money to the orphanage or built a new one somewhere else if he knew this would happen. But it was too late for regrets now. Although Qibing's goal was achieved, the price he paid was too high. Sihua was hoping to earn more money from this project to pay back Bloodcloak Underworld, but it seemed like it was all for naught now. Sihua had a bitter look on his face all day long. But compared to Sihua and Qibing, the orphanage was the most difficult. The orphanage was gone, and the dean had no choice but to bring the children to a cheaper duplex loft. Hundreds of children were squeezed into a 300-square-meter room, and it wasn't an exaggeration to say that it was a squeeze. Xiaoka had gotten a lot of money for the orphanage a while ago, but it wasn't enough to rebuild the orphanage. After all, they couldn't rebuild the orphanage with the old bungalows, could they? They had to make it more presentable. Xiaoka's money was reserved for the orphanage's daily expenses. If she took it out from the bank and used it to rebuild the orphanage, it wouldn't be enough. What would they do after the money was used up? The treasures Xiaoka brought out were only worth around 5 million. 5 million was fine if it was just for the simple construction, but it wouldn't even be enough to buy the necessary equipment if they had to build the facilities. This fire must have been set by someone from Zhao Qibing's company, but they didn't set it up properly and burned their own company nearby. Ken said angrily, "They deserve it. They deserve it. I'm guessing that Sihua will come to us again to discuss the swap, and this time, we'll have to do it even if we don't want to." The dean sighed helplessly. "We really can't afford to offend the hidden house, Zhao. If it were back then..." Sigh. What the dean wanted to say was that if it were back then, she wouldn't even care about a small hidden house. But now, the hidden Zhao family was a colossus to her. But Xiaoka only knew a limited amount about what happened back then, and the dean didn't want to talk too much about it. She didn't want her enemies to come and ruin their peaceful life. Chapter 17:15. No, the dean and Ken interrupted Xiaoka's thoughts at the same time. "You already escaped death last time. Aren't you just looking to die if you go again?" "Ah, then what should we do? We can't have a bunch of people here, can we? They sleep together every night. It's hard to even turn around." Xiaoka said worriedly as she looked at the horrible environment. "It's so hot. I'm afraid the kids might get heat rash." "Xiaoka, sis, Maybe you should go look for Lenny Bro again. Ken hinted, didn't he bring a bunch of donations to the orphanage last time? That was already the limit. Most people have already donated money. How can we make things difficult for them again? Xiaoka shook her head. Plus, my relationship with Lin isn't that good. He seems to look down on me. I don't want to trouble him. Look down on him? I don't think so. Ken thought. Look down on you and still go save you? How is that possible? This was a bit troublesome. He'd promised Lin but he couldn't tell Xiaoka. He could only hint at her, and she wouldn't understand. Xiaoka's right. We can't always trouble other people. We need to think of a way ourselves. Oh well, Amos nodded and said, he helped us once before. How can we trouble him again? Oh, Ken nodded, thinking that he should find a chance to call Lin and ask him if he had any ideas. It seemed like Xiaoka, sis, was going to marry him in the future, so it was only right for him to do something for the orphanage now. Otherwise, how could he bring home the goddess of the orphanage? Now, the ones with the biggest headache were Qibing and Sihua. They didn't have the mood to negotiate with the orphanage anymore. It was the same as looting a burning house and giving the police something to use against them. Of course, this wasn't the main thing. The main thing was that Qibing's new building was burnt down, and he couldn't help but curse his bad luck. Ever since he started his business, he hadn't done anything successful. His real estate business had been failing from the start. Luckily, Elderby didn't care much about external things, and Sihua took all the responsibility, so Elderby didn't blame Qibing. After all, as far as he was concerned, Qibing was focused on practicing now, leaving the company to his underlings. This was his underlings doing out of goodwill, but it had nothing to do with Qibing. After the Noble House meeting, Lin Yi and Yushu returned to Songshan. According to Lin Yi's promise with them, he was going to bring them to Star West Village for a trip in August. Holy Church, Yu Qian, Ling Shan, and Chuntian, on the other hand, went back to their houses. The situation in the noble houses had changed, and they needed to go back and discuss countermeasures. In actuality, as Lin Yi's strength increased, so did his view of the world. In his eyes, those noble houses that were high and mighty were nothing more than this now. So Lin Yi wasn't too enthusiastic about the Cultivators' Union. He was just making a name for it, and in actuality, his right and left hands were Chuntian, Yu Qian, and Ling Shan. As for their families, it was fine as long as they didn't cause trouble for Lin Yi. Lin Yi received a call from Ken on the way back, and only then did he know that the orphanage was on fire, and now it was a pile of ashes. The funny thing was that Qibing's building was burnt down to a skeleton as well, and he had to tear it down and rebuild it. Ken, you're suspecting that the fire has something to do with Zhao Qibing? Lin Yi understood what Ken was trying to say. We all suspect it, but we don't have any evidence, and their building was burnt down as well. That's their excuse. Ken was a little mischievous, and he understood the situation very well. Oh, I don't need evidence to do things, so we need to ask them for money. Lin Yi wasn't Ling Shan, and he only needed to suspect. Lin Yi thought, was this little bastard Zhao Qibing's leg itching again? Hadn't he broken it enough? It seemed like he had to find a chance to break it again. At the mention of money, Ken said, "Male thief, bro. Can you support the orphanage with some money? You're a male thief. You must be rich. Or else, Xiaoka's sis has to go on a mission again, and you don't want her to take the risk, do you?" Ken was asking Lin Yi for money, but he didn't feel embarrassed at all. Instead, he said it as if it was the right thing to do. From his perspective, Lin Yi wanted to marry Xiaoka, so he should at least give her some money, right? You know about it. Lin Yi was a little surprised at Ken's analysis. It seemed like Xiaoka had told him about what happened that day. I guessed. Ken said, "How could there be such a coincidence? I just told you that Xiaoka, sis, was in trouble, and the male thief went to help her." Huh. Lin Yi smiled helplessly. How was he a male thief? A proper male thief would have died a long time ago. Where would he get the money? But he still asked, how much does the orphanage need? I'm not sure, but rebuilding it might need a lot of money. Xiaoka sis and the dean are worried about it. Ken said, all right, I'll think of a way. Lin Yi hesitated for a moment before agreeing. Lin Yi wasn't a nosy person, but with his relationship with Xiaoka, he couldn't just ignore it. Besides, Linny had seen how hard it was for the children in the orphanage. Now that it was on fire, it must be even more difficult. Then I'll wait for your good news. Thank you, male thief bro. Ken heard Lin Yi's agreement and was very happy. And wait for my good news. Lin Yi said. All right. Thank you, male thief bro. Ken thanked Lin Yi again. Don't worry, I'll help you keep your identity a secret. Haha, okay. Lin Yi was a little helpless towards Ken. Although his last sentence was almost a threat, meaning that if Lin Yi didn't help, he would tell Xiaoka his identity. But Lin Yi didn't dislike it at all, because Ken wasn't doing this for himself. He was doing this for the orphanage, just like Xiaoka. Chill bro, what's wrong? Can you talk to Shu about it? Yushu asked when she saw the frown on his face. Zhao Qibing, that idiot, burned down the orphanage and his new building. He's really looking for trouble. I think he needs a beating, so he's looking for trouble. Lin Yi shrugged. That's right. I'm looking for trouble. Lin Yi shrugged. Seriously? Burn again? This guy is really unlucky. Yushu subconsciously stuck out her tongue when she heard that Qibing's building was destroyed again. Was this guy a jinx? Otherwise, ordinary people wouldn't be so unlucky, right? Chapter 17-18. Thank you for your hard work. His bad luck is secondary. The key is that the children in the orphanage don't have a place to stay anymore. They're all living in a 300 square meter attic, and it's so crowded. Lin Yi said. How much does it cost to rebuild an orphanage? Lin Yi said. How much does it cost to rebuild an orphanage? I'm not sure about that, but if it's our land, we'll only have the construction fees left. Chill bro, you can ask Fatty Lai. Wasn't he a professional in construction? Yushu reminded. Okay, I'll ask him, Lin Yi said and called Fatty Lai. Boss, you're back. Fatty Lai was one of those who was well informed. He had heard the news of House Yu's downfall, and that House Kang's application to become a noble house had failed. This made him even happier. With this, House Kang had even less of a competitive edge. House Lai's status would rise, and Lai Changyi's name would become more and more famous. After all, he was Lin Yi's follower. Lai Changyi had long expected that he would have such a day. Now, he had an advantage over any noble house, because he was one of the first followers of Lin Yi. Not yet, it's on the way. Lin Yi said, there's something I want to ask you. I want to build an orphanage. If we have a land, how much does it cost? Fatty Lai paused. He didn't understand why Lin Yi asked this, but he still answered honestly. Building an orphanage depends on the type of building. If it's a larger scale, it'll be comparable to a school. For example, those orphanages in big cities have dormitories, activity rooms, libraries, and so on. Some even have their own kindergartens, elementary schools, and middle schools. If we build all of these together, it'll cost at least 100 million. Of course, if we buy all the necessary facilities, it'll cost at least 200 million. That much. Lin Yi was surprised. Of course, if it's just a normal orphanage providing food and lodging for the orphans, a few million would be enough, Fatty Lai said. The key is what kind of building you want it to be, boss. If we want to build it, we'll do it in one go and build it better. Lin Yi listened to Fatty Lai's price and felt a headache. 200 million? How could it be so much money? But thinking about it, if it was as Fatty Lai said and all the facilities were built, the entire orphanage would be comparable to a small university. It would indeed require a lot of investment. But Lin Yi wasn't willing to just build it the same way it was. Actually, we don't need that much. We could do it step by step and build it slowly. Don't invest in the unnecessary things like the computer center, library, and gymnasium for now. If we just build the dormitory and canteen, a few million will be enough. If we have our own land, we won't even need this money. Fatty Lai said, but the beds, tables, and other facilities will add up to 5 million. Do you have any money left? Lin Yi asked. I can definitely take out a few million. If it's too much, it'll affect the company's operations, Fatty Lai said. Forget it. I'll think of something myself. Lin Yi spent 100 million when he participated in the Ice Palace's trial, and it made Fatty Lai's side a little tight. The medical company was still developing rapidly, and it wouldn't work without money. Boss, I'm really ashamed to let you think of something yourself. Fatty Lai was a little embarrassed. It's okay. I understand your difficulties. Lin, he was thinking about where he could get 200 million. Although he could borrow from any noble house, it would still make people think that Lin, he was extorting them. Lin, he thought about it and thought about the old man. He went on missions a few years ago and earned a lot of money, right? Even if it wasn't a few hundred million, it was at least tens of millions. Lin, he felt that he should ask the old man for some money. He called the old man's number, and old Lin's lazy voice came for the other side. Little E, what's the matter? Is everything done over there? Yes, it's all done. I'm calling to borrow some money from you, Linny said. Borrow money? No, old Lin said straightforwardly. No. Where did the money I earned from the missions I did go? Don't tell me that I only earned tens of yuan from one mission. Linny heard old Lin's words and found it funny and annoying at the same time. I didn't want to argue with you before, but I really have something to do now. Wait, I'll send you something. Old Lin didn't answer Linny's question and said, Oh, Linny wanted to ask something, but old Lin had already hung up. Not long after, Lin, he received a message on his phone. He opened it and saw a photo of a bunch of receipts. Lin, he zoomed in and took a closer look. They were receipts for donations and remittances. Seeing this, Lin, he was silent. It seemed that old Lin had donated all his money to charity all these years. Thinking about how stingy old Lin was at home, Lin, he felt a little sour in his heart. He used to misunderstand this old man, thinking that he was a stingy person who didn't spend money and even made him work part-time to weave straw sandals for money. But now it seemed that old Lin really didn't enjoy anything at all. As for the money used to raise Lin, it was most likely all from the money he earned from his medical practice in the village. Moreover, his treatment was almost free, and he only earned a little from buying medicine. It wasn't easy for him to raise Lin with this kind of income. Lin sighed and quietly called back. Did you receive it? Old Lin asked straightforwardly. Yes, it's been hard on you all these years, Lin said. Haha, it's nothing. Old Lin laughed and said, What do you need money for? It's similar to what you're doing. I have an orphanage here that caught fire. I want to rebuild it, and I want to build it into a first-class orphanage, Lin said. So I'm in urgent need of money. I see, old Lin said. Do you still want to carry out missions? This is faster to earn money. If you want, I can help you keep an eye out. Sure. Lin, he gritted his teeth and agreed. Help me keep an eye out. If there are missions, help me introduce them, but it's best not to go too far. I'll help you take a look. There might not be any. If there is, I'll contact you again, old Lin said. Chapter 17:16. Oh, Shield Bro, you're taking on a private job? Isn't your job to protect me and Yao Yao? Yushu asked. Not really. I've already resigned last time. We're just good friends now. Linny smiled. I see. Looks like I can't stop you. Be careful then, Yushu said helplessly. She was actually worried that Lin would be in danger. Last time Lin went to the tomb, he almost died. If it weren't for that boss you being a coward, Lin wouldn't have come back so easily. Yushu was really worried that something would happen to Lin. I will, Lin said. Before I came here, I always took on missions like this. Lin comforted Yushu like that, but he knew that the missions he took on before weren't that high-leveled, so the money wasn't that much. A mission like this, with 100 million reward, was probably on a different level. It would be even more dangerous. The hidden house you received the news immediately after the common house you was annihilated. Yu Huashing was going crazy with rage. He didn't think that Lin would be this daring to actually wipe out the common house you. He stormed over to the hidden house Yu's head, Yu Shaochen, and said in grief, Head Yu, please help us, the common house you, with regard to this matter. I beg you to uphold justice for us. We, the common house you, have been helping the hidden house you earn money, and yet we ended up like this. You must help us, the common house you, get justice. All right, I got it. Yu Huashing, I'm sorry for your loss. I need to understand the ins and outs of this matter before discussing it with my father. Yu Shaochen comforted Boss Yu. That Lin is an Earth class, and we, the hidden house, are restricted by the Noble House Council. Earth classes can't come out as they please, so it's not easy to deal with Lin. But that Lin is an Earth class. Isn't he restricted by the Hidden House Council? Yu Huashing felt that it was unfair. St. Hall, he's a freelancer, and in the past, there were no precedents of freelancers reaching Earth class. Mystic was already very powerful, and most of them relied on the hidden houses when they were at Mystic. Lin, E is a special case. Yu Xiaoqin said, I'll discuss the specifics with my father first. Yes. Yu Huoxing sighed sorrowfully. He didn't think that House Yu would be destroyed so soon after he left. This was like a bolt from the blue. How could he stay calm? He wanted to tear Lin E into a million pieces right now. But when he remembered that Lin E was also an Earth-class early-phase master, and that he knew martial arts, he backed off. Revenge was important, but staying alive was even more important. Yu Huoxing's Lin Huoxing's heart, Huoxing's Yu's heart, Lin Xiaoqin, Chunqing. Xiaoqin was actually quite annoyed as well. There was a saying that went, look at the master before beating the dog. This Lin E had challenged the hidden house Yu's bottom line time and time again. First, he'd killed one of the common house Yus, and now he'd sent the father and son of the common house Yu to heaven. This was intolerable. But while he wanted to kill Lin E as soon as possible, he didn't show it on his face. After all, this was a huge matter, and he couldn't just make a decision on his own. He had to consider the hidden house's entire benefit. If they really wanted to deal with Lin E and got impeached by the hidden house council, then it wouldn't be worth it. And so, Xiaoqin drove up the mountain to find his father, preparing to discuss with him on how to deal with this. On the mountain, it was still Yu E who brought Xiaoqin to the Elder Yu's training area. Xiaoqin, you're here. The Elder Yu looked at Xiaoqin and nodded. Father, Yu Huoxing came to me just now. He wants us to help them. Xiaoqin said. And I know about this. It's all because of that Lin E. The Elder Yu nodded and said faintly, but read this letter first. Oh, what letter? Xiaoqin paused. He wasn't surprised that his father knew what was going on outside. Although Xiaoqin could be said to have complete control over House Yu, the old ancestors still had a lot of confidence in House Yu. These people were Yu Yi's eyes and ears, and the old ancestors' information came from them. Of course, as long as Xiaoqin didn't do anything wrong to House Yu, these people would naturally listen to him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be of much use as the head of the house. This was also why Xiaoqin always went to the Elder Yu to discuss with him whenever something big happened. But the old Yu suddenly asked him to look at a letter, and this made Xiaoqin suspicious. He took the letter from the old Yu's hands and started reading it. It's a letter from Yu Bing? Xiaoqin was surprised. He knew the rules of the Ice Palace, and the new outer disciples didn't have the right to communicate with the house as they pleased, but Yu Bing didn't have this restriction. And it seems like Yu Bing is doing quite well in the Ice Palace. The Elder Yu praised. If it weren't for Ning, Yu Bing would be the best candidate to be the head of House Yu. Father, Ning. Xiaoqin didn't know much about Yu Ning either. He only had a rough idea, and the old ancestor of House Yu would never go into details. This was also why he felt that Yu Bing should be the next head of the house. I can't tell you that. It's related to the big secret of House Yu's rise. The Elder Yu said, the time isn't right yet, so I can't tell you in detail. The big secret of House Yu's rise? Yu Xiaoqin frowned. Isn't Xiao Ning supposed to accept some kind of inheritance? But what kind of inheritance is it? Is there hope? Isn't it something you saw in the ancient ruins? Is it really effective? Ancient ruins? That's just what I told others. It's not true at all. Elder Yu shook his head. Lil Chun, do you really think that we, the hidden House Yu, only rose up because we found a so-called ancient ruin? Do you really think that I, your father, am talented enough to break through to Sky Class just by looking at the ruins? Then, Xiaoqin looked at the Elder Yu, confused. All you need to know is that we, the hidden House Yu, actually have a backer up there, and Ning's matter was their idea. Old ancestor, you said. That's all I can say. Don't spread it out. Chapter 1720. The whereabouts of the Qi gathering pill, I know. Xiaoqin's heart skipped a beat. This was the first time he knew that House Yu had someone backing them. He didn't know this at first, but the Elder Yu's words today had shocked him. No wonder his father had always emphasized the importance of Yu Ning. Even when Yu Bing was outstanding, he still looked at her differently. So Yu Ning was someone that the backer of House Yu had his eyes on. Of course, Whether or not Ning can stay in House U and become the head of the house, I'm not sure, but Ning can become a sky class. That's for sure. The elder Yu said, if Ning can't stay in House U, then it's not too late to consider Yu Bing's matter. But right now, the person behind us hasn't said anything, so we can only put Ning first. I see. Xiaochen nodded and continued reading the letter in his hands. But halfway through, he frowned. Why are you Bing and Lin Yi together? Why is this kid so reckless? So the Ling Yi that Yushan was talking about, is that Lin Yi? Xiaochen frowned and said angrily. He even called Lin Yi his boss? What's going on? Is he trying to defy the heavens? Xiaochen, your personality is still not mature enough. It's been so many years, and you've had to maintain that dignified image in front of outsiders. It's been hard on you. The elder Yu waved his hand, signaling for Xiaochen to calm down. Xiaochen's face reddened. In front of his father, he revealed his true personality, but in front of outsiders, he had no choice. He was the head of the house, and if he showed his emotions on his face, then he'd be looked down upon. Without Lin Yi, Yu Bing might not even be able to come back alive. Wasn't the letter very clear? The elder Yu said with a look of disgust on his face, that Yushan kid is talented, but his intelligence isn't in the right place. He brought this upon himself. This Lin Yi is that strong? He even defeated Zhang Naipeo and Feng Nitian from the ancient sects? Xiaochen didn't really believe it. Yu Bing didn't lie in this letter. Yu Bing was Xiaochen's son, but Yushan said the same thing, and Yu Bing said the same thing. Yushan might have lied more often, but for the sake of fairness, he couldn't just believe Yu Bing's words. This letter is for Ning. Is there a need for Yu Bing to lie? The elder Yu waved his hand and passed another letter to Xiaochen. The one you saw before was for Ning. It's just a casual conversation between siblings. There's no need for Yu Bing to lie, but this is the one Yu Bing asked Ning to pass to us. Oh. Yu Xiaochen quickly took the letter from the elder Yu and started reading it. This letter was a lot more formal than the previous one. Yu Bing first greeted the elders of the house, and then described what happened in the test, but he didn't mention anything about Yushan framing him or Lin Yi. After that, Yu Bing changed the topic, saying that Yu Huoxing actually got a qi-gathering pill, but didn't give it to House Yu, but took it for himself. Yu Bing was very sure that the source of this information was very accurate. There was someone in the test who could prove this, but he didn't say who it was. Are you done? The elder Yu asked. I read it already. The thing that Yu Bing said. Xiaochen wasn't surprised that the two letters were in the hands of House Yu's old ancestor. On the surface, House Yu was under his control, but in reality, the old ancestor was in charge of most of the things. It should be true. There's no need for him to lie, and Yu Huoxing doesn't have any conflict of interest with him. The elder Yu said, but it's true that he's friends with Lin Yi, and if we don't go against House Yu because of this, we won't go against Lin Yi. This is probably the reason why Yu Bing brought this up. The elder Yu's eyes were very sharp. He noticed the secret behind it immediately. I see. Xiaochen realized. He didn't even think about the deeper reason. Then this Lin Yi is a genius, a freelancer, and he became an Earth class early phase in just a few years. This is unbelievable. The elder Yu said he had just broken through to mystic late phase during the test, and now he's an Earth class early phase? This is a rare talent. You're right, father. Xiaochen didn't think that his father would praise Lin Yi like this, but from what he could see, this Lin Yi wasn't simple at all. He was able to wipe out the common House Yu, and now he was able to beat Yu Shuixing who had taken the pill. This was the same as skipping levels. It's a shame that we don't have the ability to recruit Lin Yi. The elder Yu sighed. With Ning's relationship, there's no way Lin Yi will be of use to us, unless Ning marries him. Why can't I? Xiaochen paused. Lin Yi is so young, and he's already in Earth class. This is rare even in the hidden houses, let alone a freelancer. The inheritor must be a virgin girl, or she won't be able to accept the inheritance. The elder Yu said, this is also why I stopped Ning from dating. These young people, if they act rashly, the consequences will be unimaginable. This is an order from our House Yu's backer. Ning can't be in a relationship. So that's how it is. Xiaochen understood. If Ning can't marry Lin Yi, then we really don't have the ability to recruit Lin, but we don't have to be enemies for now. Elder Yu said, the Grand Elder of the Hidden House's Arbitration Council hasn't shown himself in a long time, and the others are getting restless and ready to break the rules. But before they break the rules, we, House Yu, can't be the first bird. Oh, the other hidden houses want to break the rules as well? Xiaochen asked. Chapter 17:17. I see. Yu Xiaochen nodded. Yu Bing's letter gives us an excuse not to stand up for House Yu. Naturally, Elder Yu nodded. I'll leave these 2 letters to you. Give one to Ning. Tell her to come visit me when she's free. I want to have a good talk with her. You know what to do with the other one, right? Understood. I'll go look for Yu Huixing right now. Xiaochen said. Yu Huixing was overjoyed to hear that Yu Xiaochen was looking for him so quickly, thinking that House Yu was going to help the common House Yu. He quickly came to Yu Xiaochen's room and spoke respectfully. House Yu, may I ask what the elder said? Are you going to avenge our common House Yu? After all, we've been working hard all these years, helping the hidden House Yu earn money. We've been handing over most of it. Huixing, it's not that I don't want to help you, but how can we help you with what you've done? Xiaochen's face was dark. Do you think that we, the hidden House Yes, are idiots? Yu Huixing paused, not understanding what Yu Xiaochen was talking about. Househead, what do you mean? Yu Huixing asked nervously. What do I mean? Take a look at this letter yourself. With that, Yu Xiaochen tossed Yu Bing's letter to Yu Huixing. Other than greetings to the family, it also talked about Yu Huixing. There weren't any secrets that he couldn't let Yu Huixing. Letter? What letter? Yu Huixing looked at Xiaochen's face and had a bad feeling. He carefully took the letter from Xiaochen's hands, but he was a little surprised. This was a letter from home. What did it have to do with him? It seemed like it was from one of House Yu's juniors. Yu Huixing looked at the signature and saw that it was Yu Bing. He was even more surprised, but he still read it patiently. After all, Xiaochen wouldn't just give him a letter for nothing. There had to be a reason. But when Yu Huixing read that Yu Bing didn't hand over the qi-gathering pill, his face changed drastically. He didn't understand. How did someone know about this secret back then? I saw the news a few days ago. Weren't the couple, Blackie, and the other grave robbers caught in one fell swoop? Who else knows about this? But no matter what, this matter was exposed, and Yu Bing's tone was very certain. This meant that he had solid proof, and Yu Huixing couldn't deny it. If Yu Bing had used a maybe or guess tone, then Yu Huixing would have had some room to maneuver. Househead Yu. Yu Huixing was scared, not knowing how Xiaochen was going to deal with him. He couldn't find an excuse. Could it be that the pill was given to the hidden house Zhao? If he were to tell the truth, not only would he not be able to avenge House Yu, he might even be slapped to death by Yu Xiaochen. So Yu Huixing's mind raced, trying to think of a reasonable excuse to avoid House Yu's blame. Me what? Can't think of an excuse anymore? Xiaochen laughed coldly. No, I'm a bit embarrassed to say it. Yu Huixing lowered his head. He'd already thought of an excuse, and he pretended to be embarrassed. What's there to be embarrassed about? Xiaochen frowned. Actually, in the tomb, the male thief was Lin Yi. Yu Huixing started making up a story. He thought of a way to avoid responsibility and frame Lin Yi at the same time. This way, the hidden house you would target Lin Yi, and Lin Yi would be done for. The male thief was Lin Yi. Xiaochen paused. Then how could the male thief be Lin Yi? Plus, even if it was Lin Yi, what does that have to do with you not handing over the pill? I'm ashamed to say that my pill was stolen by Lin Yi. Yu Huixing said sadly. Your pill was stolen by Lin Yi? According to what I know, Lin Yi was only a mystic mid-phase peak before he went to the test, right? You were already in Earth class early phase at that time, and you were still scared of Lin Yi? Xiaochen felt that Yu Huixing's words were a bit strange. So, that's why I didn't dare tell you the truth. Yu Huixing said angrily. That Lin Yi may be a mystic mid-phase peak, but he has a trump card that's really strong, and I was poisoned. Yes, poisoned. Even if I was in Earth class, I wouldn't be Lin Yi's opponent. And so, my pill was stolen by Lin Yi. Then why didn't you say so earlier? Xiaochen wasn't an idiot. Yu Huixing's words weren't very detailed, and he couldn't just believe it. I was afraid of losing face, wasn't I? I'm an Earth class early phase, and my pill was stolen by a mystic mid-phase peak. How would I be able to face anyone if this got out? Yu Huashing said with a sad face. Househead, but you know that Lin, he does have some tricks up his sleeves. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to kill my brother. After my brother took the pill, he was on par with an Earth class early phase peak. And since Lin, he can fight above his level, then I know that Lin, he has some special abilities, of course. I don't need you to explain. Xiao Chun waved his hand. He knew Lin Yi very well. This guy was able to make Feng Nitian and Zhang Naipeo, two disciples from the ancient houses and sects, lose to him. He definitely wasn't a simple character. The question was, how trustworthy could Yu Huashing's words be? Yes. I'm sorry. Househead Yu. I hid the truth before because I was afraid of being punished by the house. Yu Huashing said carefully. Are you telling the truth? Xiao Chun frowned. Of course, I don't dare hide anything. Yu Huashing said in fear. If that's the case, then I'll write a letter and ask you Bing if Lin Yi really took the pill. Xiao Chun said coldly, as if he didn't believe Yu Huashing's words. But in reality, Xiao Chun believed most of it already. Yu Bing was on good terms with Lin Yi during the test, so the news of Yu Huashing getting the pill was most likely from Lin Yi as well. Lin Yi and the common house Yu were enemies, and Lin Yi was probably trying to use Yu Bing to spread the news to the hidden house Yu, and have them deal with Yu Huashing, or at least not participate in the battle between Lin Yi and the common house Yu. Chapter 17-18. Otherwise, where would Yu Bing have gotten this information from? Don't. Yu Huashing jumped when he heard that Xiao Chun was going to ask him. He subconsciously tried to stop him, but regretted it immediately. Wouldn't it mean that he was guilty if he stopped him? Don't? What? You're afraid that your lie will be exposed? Xiao Chun had already believed most of it, but now that Yu Huashing was saying this, he was starting to doubt himself. Saint Ha, no. I mean, if you asked him like this, how would Lin Yi admit to it? Yu Huashing said, I'm guessing that it was Lin Yi who told young Master Yu that I got the Qi-gathering pill, and his goal was to make you blame me. But you're a wise man. How would you fall for that easily? Yu Huashing was a careful man. He'd heard Xiao Chun's words very carefully. He caught on to the fact that Lin Yi had joined the test as well, so he'd be able to frame Lin Yi. No need to flatter me. Get to the point. Xiao Chun waved his hand, not buying it. Yes. Yu Huashing continued his analysis. So, think about it. If you were young Master Yu Bing's good friend, would you admit that you stole their Qi-gathering pill? What you said is not without reason. Xiao Chun nodded, but I'd still write a letter to ask if Lin Yi was the male thief, if he participated in the tomb robbery. That. Yu Huashing was scared, but he couldn't say it out loud. Look, Master, since young Master Yu Bing didn't mention Lin Yi in the letter, it means that he's trying to cover for Lin Yi. How would he admit to it, if you asked? If it were me, I'd deny it as well. Oh, it doesn't matter. We just need to pay attention to the technique when we ask. Xiao Chun waved his hand casually. When the time comes, I'll just ask him directly. Why didn't he tell me that Lin was a male thief and that he got the Qi-gathering pill as well? Why'd he hide the truth? I didn't explain in detail and pretended that I knew everything to reproach him. That. Yu Huashing was a little helpless. He had no reason to argue anymore. One had to admit that Xiao Chun's suggestion was very logical. As a member of House Yu, Yu Bing wouldn't dare hide anything under such a harsh tone. But if Yu Bing really didn't know anything, no matter how much he blamed him, no matter how much he pretended to know everything, Yu Bing wouldn't admit it. Therefore, Yu Huashing was worried that he had said it on the spur of the moment. What would he do when the truth came out? All right, it's decided then. Xiao Chun waved his hand. If it really was Lin Yi, then I won't make it hard for you. I know that Lin Yi has some skills, but if you're just making it up, then you know the consequences. With that, Xiao Chun waved his hand impatiently and picked up his teacup. Yu Huashing knew that Xiao Chun was asking him to leave, and he could only sigh helplessly. There was no point in talking about this. He could only wait for the final result. Yu Huashing walked back to his place, only to realize that Yu Lu was following him, and it was very blatantly. He knew that he was being watched. I hope that Yu Bing can help me as well. Yu Huoxing prayed for a miracle in his heart. Xiao watched as Yu Huoxing left and quickly rushed to the old ancestors' practicing grounds. This was a huge matter, and he had to discuss it with his father. The old ancestor was a little curious about Xiao return. I say, Xiao, why are you back? Is it because of Yu Huoxing? Yes, it's because of Yu Huoxing. Xiao was impressed by his father's sharp eyes. He nodded quickly. St. Hall, you can't even make a decision on such a small matter? The old ancestor was a little surprised. Xiao wasn't someone like that before. Dealing with Yu Huoxing wasn't a big deal. Was there a need to discuss it with him? There's something else going on here. Xiao shook his head. Father, I did as you asked and showed the letter to Yu Huoxing, and he told me the reason behind it. Oh, what reason? The old ancestor was curious as well. What secret could there be? It's like this. Xiao repeated what Yu Huoxing had said, as well as his analysis of the suspicious points, as well as the credibility of the words. According to what he said, it's possible, but also impossible. The old ancestor nodded. Writing a letter and asking is the right thing to do. You can make the decision yourself. Just tell me the result. It's not a big deal. Yes, I'll write a letter and ask now, Xiao replied. After returning from the old ancestor's training grounds, the first thing Xiao did was to write a letter blaming Lin Yi. Of course, he didn't go into the details, but he used an affirmative tone to say that he knew that Lin Yi had participated in the tomb robbery, and that Lin Yi had gotten the qi-gathering pill. Why didn't Yu Bing report this? As for the details, Xiao didn't mention anything. This was also because he didn't want to expose himself. If Yu Bing really did have something to hide, he'd definitely give an explanation after reading this letter. He wrote too much, and it felt like he was trying to cover something up. After writing the letter, Xiao walked quickly to his daughter's room. Xiao was an Earth-class late-phase peak, and if he didn't make any noise, Yu Ning wouldn't be able to hear anything. The other disciples and servants of house, you naturally wouldn't stop him when they saw him. And so, Xiao came to Yu Ning's room without any obstructions, only to find that she was painting. Xiao didn't mind that Yu Ning was painting, but when he saw the person in the painting, he frowned. Ahem! Xiao coughed twice. Yu Ning jumped in fright, and the brush in her hand shook. The painting was ruined. She didn't think that someone would suddenly appear in the quiet room. And when Yu Ning turned around, she realized that it was her father. Her face reddened, and she wanted to pull down her drawing board. I've already seen it. There's no need to hide it. Xiao had wanted to have a good talk with his daughter, but seeing how infatuated she was still drawing Lin Yi. Target equals _blank. Chapter 17:19. In the painting, there was a man and a woman, sitting together in an empty field, looking up at the starry sky. The woman in the painting was Yu Ning. This made Xiao even angrier. So what if he sees it? Yu Ning was stubborn as well. Since her father saw it, there was no point in hiding it anymore. Understood. You and Lin Yi will never happen. Xiao said coldly. I talked to your grandpa today. Your identity is different. You and Lin Yi will never be together in this life. Stop dreaming. Yu Ning pursed her lips and didn't say anything, but from her expression, it was clear that she didn't listen to Xiao words at all. After all, she'd heard it too many times and was numb to it. However, she never gave up on that stubbornness. Closing her eyes, Yu Ning would remember that year, that night, that Valentine's Day, in front of the fire in the cave, the two of them looking at the starry sky together. That was the happiest night Yu Ning had ever had, and it was a time she'd dreamed of thousands of times. This is a letter from Yu Bing. Xiao said helplessly, seeing that his daughter wasn't saying anything. He placed the letter on Yu Ning's desk and turned to leave. Remember what I said. Lin Yi may have some skills, but he's not worthy of your identity. You're destined to become a sky class of House Yu, and a sky class late phase peak at that. Lin Yi will never be able to surpass you in this lifetime. Dad, don't underestimate him. Yu Ning wasn't too happy. No one wanted their lover to be belittled by their parents like that. Underestimate? Xiao shook his head. Ning, you don't understand it yet, but you'll understand when you get to that step. I'm not afraid of hurting your confidence, But unless Lin Yi has the strength to surpass all the ancient sects, don't even think about it. I believe he'll do it. Yu Ning said. Him? Do it? Xiao Chun was amused by his daughter's stubbornness. He couldn't imagine that his daughter would be this infatuated, believing in something like this. From childhood to adulthood, my sixth sense has always been very accurate, Yu Ning insisted. Xiao Chun shook his head and didn't say anything else. He felt that his daughter had already gone crazy, and there was no point in saying anything more. He could only turn around and leave, letting his daughter think things through on her own. Yu Ning was at home anyways, and there was no chance for her to see Lin Yi. Xiao Chun wasn't worried. Lin Yi and Yushu returned to Songshan, and the first thing they did after dropping Yushu off at home was go to the floating cloud bar. At this moment, the bar had not opened yet. The waiter was cleaning the bar, but the door of the bar was kicked open. Lin Yi didn't waste any time and directly barged in. It wasn't the first time he came to the floating cloud bar, so he was familiar with the place. Sihua had brought Boss Zhu to the orphanage early in the morning to negotiate with the headmaster of the orphanage. He wanted to settle things as soon as possible before anything else happened. Although the fire had destroyed his building, it was still a big crime to set fire to the orphanage. He was afraid that the orphanage wouldn't let him off easily, and if things got out of hand, he'd be in big trouble. Jiaonong was assigning tasks to the waiters when he saw Lin Yi barge in. He jumped in shock. Not good. Lin Yi's here, Jiaonong yelled, warning Zhao Qibing and Yao Wang in the room. Zhao Qibing was in the middle of it all, and he almost went mad from Su Jiaonong's shout. Although he didn't go mad, all his previous efforts were in vain. The pure qi he had accumulated for the entire night had all dissipated in fear. What are you doing here? Zhao Qibing was a little traumatized. Seeing Lin Yi, he couldn't help but feel the pain in his leg. He couldn't even stand straight. You don't know why I'm here? Lin Yi looked at Zhao Qibing with a smile that wasn't a smile. How would I know? Zhao Qibing remembered that he was now Elder Bai's direct disciple, and his courage returned. Why would he be afraid of Lin Yi? He was now one of the candidates for the head of the house. He was no longer the Zhao Qibing from before. Oh, I'm actually here to break your leg, Lin Yi said as he walked towards Zhao Qibing. You, don't do anything stupid. Zhao Qibing jumped in fright. He wanted to ask Boss Zhu for help, but he suddenly remembered that Boss Zhu was taken away by Sihua to threaten the orphanage's headmaster. In his bar, other than Yao Wang, a mystic-class master who wasn't very good at fighting, there was only Uncle Zhu, the cripple. It's fine if I don't do anything stupid. You burned the orphanage, right? Lin Yi asked. Me? How is that possible? My building has been burned down. How can I be the one who burned it? I'm also looking for the arsonist. Zhao Qibing denied flatly. He thought that Lin Yi really was here for the orphanage. Why did this guy like to stick his nose into other people's business? They didn't earn much money from the reconstruction of the slums, and the compensation they gave to the residents was the highest standard. He wanted to earn some money from the orphanage, but this Lin Yi was sticking his nose into other people's business again. Oh, there's no need to look for him. I found him for you. It's you, Lin Yi said. Me? Lin Yi, don't talk nonsense. Zhao Qibing knew that he wasn't the same as before, but he was still afraid of Lin Yi. If I say it's me, then it's me. Lin Yi said, do you want me to break your leg before you admit it? Zhao Qibing was speechless. He didn't want to admit it, so he broke his leg to force him to admit it? Who would do something like that? But thinking back to Lin Yi's domineering style, he really might do it. Lin Yi's story had spread across the world. Lin Yi had destroyed the common house Yu, and Zhao Qibing didn't doubt that Lin Yi would break his leg. If Lin Yi dared to mess with the hidden house Yu, what was the hidden house Zhao to him? Is it me or not? I'll count to 3. If you don't admit it, then I'll break your leg. 2 last time, 3 this time, Lin Yi said impatiently. Then it's me who burned it. Zhao Qibing had no choice but to admit it. Lin Yi could even beat a drugged Yu Shuixing to death. So even if Boss Zhu was here, he wouldn't be able to do anything to Lin Yi. Unless Elder Bai made him move himself, he wouldn't be able to hurt Lin Yi at all. But with the Hidden House Association, Elder Bai couldn't walk around the common world. A wise man knows when to retreat, and Zhao Qibing could only admit it, even though he didn't know what Lin Yi was planning. Since you've admitted it, then it's easy. Pay up, Lin Yi said. You burned down an orphanage, you have to pay at least 30 to 50 million, right? Plus the money you owe me last time. Give me 200 million. Chapter 1720. Qibing finally understood why Lin Yi was here. He was here to ask for money. But where did Qibing have the money? He still owed blood-stained Yellow Springs sect 300 million. And now Lin Yi was here to ask for 200 million? How was he supposed to live? Even if Qibing sold everything he had, he wouldn't be able to pay this amount of money. Are you going to give it to me or not? Lin Yi frowned. He was getting impatient. I can give it to you, but I really don't have that much money right now. Look at my building. Everything was burned down, and my real estate company hasn't even made any money yet. I'm already losing money, and I've already rebuilt 3 buildings. Qibing said bitterly. Then can I owe it to you first? Owe it to you? How long do you owe? Lin Yi saw that Qibing really didn't have any money, so he didn't force him. 2 years. Within 2 years, I'll definitely pay you back. I can write an IOU, Qibing said. He wanted to get rid of Lin Yi first. Who knows, he might be able to become an Earth-class master in 2 years. By then, he wouldn't have to be afraid of Lin Yi anymore. Oh, then write it. Lin Yi didn't expect Qibing to give him any money. This guy was so poor that his building was destroyed 3 times. He was probably broke as well. Extorting a few million from him wouldn't be enough for him to do anything. Qibing had no choice but to write an IOU to Lin Yi. But Lin Yi frowned after looking at the IOU. You owe me for 2 years, and you don't even have any interest? I have a few million in the bank, right? Interest? Can I not? Qibing didn't want to give him the money at all, but he was instinctively afraid of Lin Yi. He was afraid that when Lin Yi became stronger, he would have to pay him back. It's fine if you don't want it. Lin Yi put the IOU in his pocket and said, Then I'll collect some interest now. Now. Qibing was quite happy when he heard the first half of Lin Yi's sentence, but when he heard the second half, he almost fell to the ground. But before Qibing could sit down, 2 crisp sounds were heard, and he fell on the ground, because his leg was broken by Lin Yi again. Ouch! Qibing groaned in pain, but he was a practitioner now, so he could still hold it in. He endured the pain in his leg, sweating profusely. You didn't keep your word. Didn't you say you'd stop fighting if I paid you back? Didn't I leave you a leg? Could it be that you want to break your 3rd leg as well? As Lin Yi spoke, he raised his leg and pretended to step down. Qibing shook his head. No, I don't want to. He admitted that he was unlucky. Now that he met Lin Yi, he really couldn't do anything. But he swore in his heart that one day he would torture Lin Yi to death. He wanted to break every bone in Lin Yi's body and let him have a taste of this pain. I'll burn this bar down for you. If you dare to put it out, I'll burn it down in the middle of the night. If you can't escape, then don't blame me for not reminding you. As Lin Yi spoke, a flame appeared in his hand. He casually threw it on the wooden decorations of the bar, and it lit up in flames. Lin Yi, on the other hand, turned and walked out of the bar. After Lin Yi left, Su Jiaonong, who was hiding at the side, ran over. Master Bing, what do we do now? Should we call the police and put out the fire? Put out my ass, let it burn. Didn't you hear what Lin Yi said? If I put out the fire, what if he comes back in the middle of the night? Qibing raged. Why aren't you carrying me out? Ask everyone in the bar to leave. Do you want to burn me to death? Yes. Yes. Su Jiaonong wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and hurriedly replied. In House Chu's villa, Yushu was excitedly telling Meng Yao and Tang Yun about what happened during the noble house meeting. That old bastard Shuaixing thought that he could go on a killing spree just because he took the pill and became an Earth-class early phase. At that time, the atmosphere was really tense. All the families that were close to Shield Bro were in danger. My grandpa, Grandpa Wu, and Grandpa Song were all very worried. Yushu described the scene vividly, making Meng Yao and Tang Yun's hearts skip a beat. At that time, Shield Bro appeared, and in an instant he showed his strength as an Earth class, making that old bastard Shuaixing jump in fright. Everyone's jaw dropped as well. So Shield Bro was an Earth class as well. Yushu described in detail, making Tang Yun and Meng Yao feel as if the whole thing was happening right in front of their eyes. She took a sip of ice water and said, "It's so hot. Why is it so hot? Is the air conditioner on?" "It's on," Meng Yao said bitterly. "Tang Yun and I are freezing, and you're saying it's hot? Don't make so many exaggerated gestures when you're telling the story." "Ugh, is that so?" Yushu stuck out her tongue, giggling. "Then it wouldn't be interesting. Let's continue. When we were talking about Shield Bro, that old bastard Shueishing didn't dare to go head-to-head with Shield Bro. So he went to attack my brother. He was about to hit my brother, and Shield Bro couldn't stop him in time. That was when Shield Bro shouted, 'Earth-class skill, Frenzy Fire Fist.' That old bastard Shueishing jumped in fright and dodged immediately. But after waiting for a long time, he didn't see any skill, and only then did he realize that he was tricked. Shield Bro didn't use any skill at all. He was just tricking him. Huh. Meng Yao and Tang Yin were amused as well. They didn't expect Lin Yi to be this shameless. Why did it feel like Yushu's style? And then that old bastard Shueishin got pissed off, saying that Shield Bro tricked him. I'm still so hot. I didn't even move. Why am I still so hot?" Yushu said as she drank another mouthful of ice water. "You're too excited, aren't you?" Tang Yin said. "Do you want me to get some ice cream?" "Sure," Yushu said. "I want the super big ones. But I'm still so hot right now. These pajamas are too hot. I'll just take them off." With that, Yushu took off her pajamas, leaving only her bra on. "Shu, what are we going to do when Linny comes back like this?" Meng Yao frowned. "It's fine. I'll put the back on in a bit. But it doesn't matter if he sees it. He's seen it a couple of times already," Yushu said nonchalantly. Meng Yao didn't say anything more. Yushu was just like that, always feeling hot for no reason. She didn't even wear clothes at home. Chapter 1725, Shu is Sick, Part 2. Things had gotten better after Lin Yi's arrival, but it seemed that things were starting to get worse again. It's so hot. It's better to be naked. Yushu didn't wait for Meng Yao to say anything before taking off her bra and pajamas, leaving only her underwear on. She started running around the room like a headless fly. "It's so hot. So hot. I'm going to die from the heat." Meng Yao didn't know what to say. There was a sea of white and 2 super large papayas in front of her. It was making her dizzy. "Shu, the more you run around, the hotter you'll get. Calm down and wait for Yun Yin to get you some ice cream." "Oh." Yushu stopped, but it still seemed like she was still hot. Tang Yin came back at this time and was shocked to see Yushu naked. Luckily, the 3 of them had showered together before, so it wasn't too shocking. "Shu, here's some ice cream. It's not very good for you to be like this. Give it to me. Give it to me." Yushu took the ice cream from Tang Yun, but the moment her hand touched the ice cream melted into a puddle of liquid, and in the blink of an eye, it flowed all over the floor. This ice cream. Tang Yun thought that the fridge was broken, but she looked at the other 2 ice creams in her hands. Yushu's ice cream was the only one that melted. Meng Yao, on the other hand, realized that something was wrong as well. She reached out to touch Yushu, only to have the latter jump in fright as she pulled her hand back with a yelp. "Why is it so hot?" "Shu, Yao, I feel like I'm getting cooked. What should I do? What should I do?" Yushu's fair skin was starting to turn an unnatural shade of red. It was the color of a cooked crab. "What's going on?" Tang Yun was a little confused. Yao, why don't you go online and check what's going on?" "Okay." Meng Yao nodded quickly and picked up the tablet beside her to check Shu's symptoms. Lin Yi was looking for trouble with Lin Yi, so Meng Yao didn't want to disturb Lin Yi by calling him. "Did you find it?" Tang Yun asked. "I found it, but the internet says that Shu's symptoms are due to an aphrodisiac." Meng Yao looked at the screen with a weird expression. "It says that after a girl is drugged, her body will heat up and she will take off her clothes." Ugh. Tang Yin looked at the explanation on the screen and looked at Shu. Why didn't it seem like it? She blushed and said embarrassedly, "That's not right. I was drugged with that drug once. But after that, not only did I heat up, and I really want to do that. That's right. Shu looks pretty normal. She doesn't look like she's been drugged. Plus, she came back with Lin Yi There's no way anyone would have had the chance to do that. It can't be Lin. Meng Yao nodded as she tossed the laptop aside. Whatever. Let's not look into it anymore. Shield bro doesn't even need to drug Shu. It's so hot, I just feel hot. Nothing else. Yushu nodded. Why don't you try taking a cold shower? Tang Yin was sweating after hearing Yushu's words. She quickly suggested, Okay, Yao Yao, Yin, help me turn on the water. I feel like I'm burning up. It's so uncomfortable. Yushu moaned in pain. Meng Yao and Tang Yin quickly ran to the bathroom to put cold water in Yushu's bathtub. Tang Yin was confused. What's wrong with Shu? Was she like this before too? I don't know. She used to say it was hot all the time, taking off all her clothes in the villa in the middle of winter. I didn't pay much attention to it before because I thought she liked not wearing clothes. But it's never been this serious before. Meng Yao was panicking as well. She looked at the running water and wanted it to be bigger. Maybe we should give Linny a call? Let him take a look at Shu? Tang Yin didn't know what to do. Yushu couldn't have matured so quickly. Could she? How can we call Lin when Shu's like this? Meng Yao smiled bitterly. She's hiding her illness. Tang Yin smiled bitterly as well. Shu doesn't care about it, and neither do I. We can't just carry her to the hospital like this, right? If there's no other way, we can only call Linny back. Meng Yao nodded helplessly. Tang Yin was right. If she and Shu didn't care, why should she be nervous? Besides, it was better to let Lin see than to let others see, right? Plus, it wasn't the first time Shu had been seen. She was always saying that she wanted to be Lin Yi's mistress, so it wasn't a big deal to have a look. After the cold water was ready, Yushu ran in impatiently, took off her underwear, and jumped into the bathtub. Not only did the cold water fail to cool her down, it even started boiling and bubbling. It was as if Yushu was being cooked. Yushu jumped out of the bathtub with a whoosh and screamed. It's hot. Shu, you're hotter than boiling water. You're boiling the water. Meng Yao shook her head as she picked up her phone. I'll call Lin Yi. It looks like you're sick. Lin Yi received Meng Yao's call as soon as he left the floating cloud bar. Miss, what's wrong? What's wrong? Lin Yi was just about to head home when Meng Yao's call came in unexpectedly. Meng Yao wasn't monitoring Lin Yi like she used to these days, and she didn't ask him to come home at a certain time, either. What, miss? I'm not joking with you. Something happened at home, Shu. Something happened. Can you come back and take a look? Meng Yao was a little hesitant when she said the words, but the best way to solve a problem like this was to find Lin. No one else would do. Shu, something happened? Lin Yi paused. You just sent Shu home not long ago, and she was fine. What happened? Yeah, you'll know when you come back. I don't know how to explain it. Her whole body was hot. Then she took off all her clothes, like a cooked lobster. Meng Yao said, hot all over? Took off all her clothes? Lin Yi paused. Then wait for me to go back and take a look. Lin Yi's words were a little ambiguous. Going back and taking a look, was it to see Shu naked or her illness? Target equals _blank. Chapter 1721. Chapter 1726. Shu is sick. Part 2. Chapter 1726. Shu is sick. Part 2. Meng Yao was a little embarrassed, but when Lin Yi hung up the phone, she realized that she was thinking too much. Lin Yi sped up the car and rushed back to the villa. Lin Yi opened the door himself, and Meng Yao and Tang Yin were standing at the bathroom door, each holding a water gun to spray Yushu's body to lower her temperature. The flowing water was better. Although it would boil instantly, it absorbed most of Yushu's body temperature. Lin Yi went upstairs and heard the sound of water in the bathroom. He hesitated and asked at the door, Can I go in? Lin Yi, you're back. Tang Yin quickly opened the door. Hurry up and check on Shu. She can't take it anymore. Lin Yi saw the scene in the bathroom and was shocked. Tang Yin and Meng Yao were spraying water on Shu's body. But when the water touched Shu's body, it seemed to boil instantly, making a sizzling sound and emitting steam. It was like she was in a sauna, but the steam was made by Shu herself. What happened to her? When Lin Yi sent Shu back, she was still fine, but after going out for a walk, she became like this. Lin Yi didn't have time to admire Shu's body, because her whole body had turned red. We are not sure. She told us about your experience at the Noble House meeting, and then she said it was hot, so she took off her clothes, and then it got hotter and hotter. Meng Yao quickly explained what happened. I did. Lin Yi braved the water gun and walked to Shu's side. Just when he put his hand on her wrist to feel her pulse, Lin Yi subconsciously pulled his hand away, and Lin Yi gritted his teeth. Lin Yi glanced at his hand. It was covered in blisters. The temperature was at least 100 degrees Celsius, but what puzzled Lin Yi was that Shu didn't seem to be burned. Although her body was red, it didn't cause any big problems. If it was an ordinary person, they would have been burnt to death. Lin Yi activated the art of dragon mastery and quickly healed his burn wounds. Then he used his chi to protect his hand and went to feel Shu's pulse. Shield bro. I'm so hot. Can you carry me to the ice palace to keep me company? I'm dying, Yushu said, panting. Lin Yi did not reply. Instead, he frowned deeply. Inside Yushu's body, Lin Yi didn't find anything wrong with it. It was like a normal person, but there was an inexplicable heat. You didn't find anything wrong with you? Shu doesn't seem to be sick. Lin Yi shook his head and said, what's going on? It's a little similar to Xiao's. Xiao's body is extremely cold, and yours is extremely hot, but there are no other symptoms? Shu isn't sick. Meng Yao was shocked. Then you guys maintain it for a while. I'll call my old man and ask him if he has seen something like this. Lin Yi had no choice but to ask old Lin for help. Lin Yi quickly went out of the bathroom. In the bathroom, Lin Yi felt unbearably hot, and he was covered in water as if he had just taken a sauna. Lin Yi took out his phone and wanted to call old Lin, but his phone was soaked in water. He couldn't use it at all. Lin Yi quickly ran downstairs and used the landline in the living room to call old Lin. E, you're calling me again so soon? Old Lin picked up the phone. It was a little strange. Lin Yi had called him about the orphanage, and not long after, the second call came. Old man, I need to ask you something. If a person's whole body is hot, but there are no other symptoms after a check, what's going on? Lin Yi asked urgently. Oh, what do you mean by a whole body is hot, but there are no other symptoms after a check? Explain it in detail. Old Lin didn't quite understand Lin Yi's question. It's like this. Lin Yi explained Yushu's situation to old Lin in detail. That's how it is. I feel like I'm at my wit's end right now. Do you have any ideas? Why do you think this situation is similar to the legendary fire poison? Old Lin was stunned. Fire poison? No way. Xiao has the cold poison, and now there's the fire poison. Lin Yi was also stunned. Xiao doesn't have the cold poison. It's just similar to the cold poison, but her situation is really hard to say. Old Lin shook his head and said, I can't say for sure right now. Why don't you bring her to me? Bring her? Then she can't die, right? Lin Yi asked with a bitter smile. According to what you said, if she hasn't been burned to death after so long, then she won't die. Old Lin said, there shouldn't be a problem. Okay, if there's no other way, I'll bring her back. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. At the same time, in the bathroom upstairs, Yushu suddenly waved her hand at Meng Yao and Tang Yun. Right, I remember. I've had this problem since I was young. In the second drawer of the bedside table in my bedroom, there's a small bottle with special medicine in it. Just bring it to me, huh? Okay. Meng Yao heard Yushu's words and quickly replied. She threw down the water gun and quickly ran back to the room. As expected, she found a delicate small bottle in the drawer of the bedside table. She picked it up and quickly ran back to the bathroom. Shu, is this it? And in. Hurry up and take the pill out for me. Yushu looked at it, nodded, and said hurriedly, okay. Meng Yao nodded and opened the small bottle. There was a pill inside. Is this it? Why does it feel like it was licked by someone? Did the sugar on the outside melt? Oh, maybe it was sprayed by Yunyan's water gun. Give it to me. Yushu opened her mouth. Meng Yao remembered that this was the life-saving pill Yushu was waiting for. She didn't dare to ask anymore and quickly threw the pill into Yushu's mouth. Yushu swallowed the pill, and after a while, she suddenly shivered and shouted, wow, it's so cold. Turn off the water valve. I'm freezing to death. Tang Yin paused, but saw that Yushu's skin color had returned to normal. She quickly turned off the water valve and said, you're okay. Yes, I'm freezing to death. I need a towel to wipe myself. Yushu nodded. I'm freezing to death. I'm freezing to death. Hashtag, you can see your. Chapter 1722. Treating a guest, Mingyao didn't know whether to laugh or cry as she watched Yushu walking around in circles. She was the complete opposite of what she was doing before. He had come up the stairs as well. He was just about to go into the washroom to check on Yushu when he saw a white body running out. An Earth class early phase, accidentally bumped into the body. So comfortable. That was Lin Yi's first feeling. The second feeling was that his body felt cold as if someone was glaring at him. Lin Yi turned around and saw Tang Yun smiling. Lin Yi paused and let go of Shu awkwardly. Huh? Shu, how come you're fine? Miracle, Dr. Lin. You're so powerful, and you still can't see that Shu's skin color is normal? Even Earth-class Master couldn't hide from it. What would you do if it was an enemy? Tang Yin was a little jealous. If it was under other circumstances, she wouldn't know, but Lin Yi was flirting with Shu in front of her. This made her unhappy. Ugh. Lin Yi didn't think that his subconscious action was seen through by Tang Yun. To be honest, Lin Yi didn't think too much about it. He just couldn't resist the temptation and made a small mistake. Tang Yun caught him red-handed, which made him embarrassed. I was too anxious and didn't pay attention. Meng Yao naturally understood and covered her mouth to hide her laughter. So Tang Yun still had a little temper. It had been hard on her recently. She had been tolerating Lin Yi and Shu, and today, she finally exploded under Lin Yi's evil actions. All right, it's fine now. Tang Yun was just pointing it out. If she didn't let it go, not only would it embarrass Lin Yi, but it would also make Meng Yao look down on her. So Tang Yin only warned Lin Yi. Shu ran to the bedroom to wipe her body. Lin Yi laughed dryly and said, How did she recover? I'm not too sure, but Shu said that it's an old problem of hers. She suddenly remembered that she had a special medicine and asked me to get it for her. She'll be fine after taking it. Meng Yao explained. Special medicine? What special medicine? Lin Yi asked. This is it. Meng Yao handed the bottle to Lin Yi. Is there more in here? That's all? Lin Yi looked at the bottle in his hand. The craftsmanship was extremely exquisite, but it was empty. There were no pills inside. Nope, just one pill. Meng Yao said. I see. Lin Yi put the bottle under his nose and took a sniff. There wasn't anything out of the ordinary, only the scent of sugar coating. It seemed that the pill was covered in sugar, and nothing else could be detected from the inside of the bottle. Yeah, we'll have to ask Shu later. We have a lot of questions too, Meng Yao shrugged. When Yushu came out of the bedroom again, she was already in her pajamas. Her face was back to normal. Shu, are you all right? Meng Yao asked with lingering fear. Yeah, I'm fine. Yushu shook her head and smiled. Hee hee, I made you guys worry. Shu, what's going on? I heard from Yao Yao that it's an old problem. Lin Yi looked at Shu's complexion. She was indeed back to normal. She was like a different person from before. Yeah, it's an old problem. It acted up when I was young, but it never acted up again after I grew up. Yushu nodded. I almost forgot there's a special medicine I brought from home. I didn't think it'd take so many years to use. Special medicine? Did you see a doctor when you were young? Lin Yi asked as he fiddled with the bottle in his hand. Yeah, I did. It's fine. Yushu said casually. The doctor said that it'll be fine for a long time after I eat it. What do you do if it happens again? Lin Yi asked. Do you have more of this medicine? Let me study it. I'll see if I can find the formula. Oh, it's at home. I'll go get it when I'm free next time. Yushu said. All right. Lin Yi calmed down after hearing Yushu's words. All right, I'm fine now. To celebrate, let's go out for a big meal tonight? Yushu suggested. She didn't want to talk about it anymore. Sure, what do you want? Lin Yi asked with a smile. Let's go eat steak. I'm craving steak. Yushu said. Sure, I'll make a call and book a table at a Western restaurant. Meng Yao nodded. Meng Yao was just about to make the call when her phone rang. Daddy, why are you calling me at this hour? Meng Yao found it odd that the call was from Pengzhan. He usually called Meng Yao in the morning to let her know that he was safe. He rarely called in the afternoon. Yao Yao, are you free tonight? Want to go out for dinner? Pengzhan said. Tonight? Dinner? Only you? Meng Yao blinked not understanding why her father would want to go out for dinner tonight. It wasn't a weekend, nor was it a holiday. She didn't know why it was so sudden. It's your uncle and Mingyue and Jiangwen, Peng Zhan sighed. They're old neighbors, and they came back to Songshan all of a sudden. They wanted to arrange a dinner for us. I couldn't reject them, so I agreed. Peng Zhan actually liked Jiangwen quite a bit at first, but after House and moved away, the two families only worked together in business. Today, Peng Zhan didn't know what to do with Jiangwen's sudden visit, but he couldn't reject them because of his pride. After all, the two families had always been in business with each other, and they were old neighbors. Peng Zhan couldn't reject them. Is that so? Meng Yao frowned. She wants to eat steak. Where are they treating us? We haven't confirmed the place yet. I'll let them know if you agree. Peng Zhan said, we don't know if you're free today, so we're not sure, but steak is fine. I'll tell them to go to a Western restaurant. All right, but bring Lin Yi and Tang Yun. Is that okay? Meng Yao asked. Of course. Peng Zhan smiled. It's just a family dinner. All right, I'll wait for your call, Daddy. Meng Yao replied. Yushu hung up the phone. Yao Yao, someone's treating us? Hashtag target equals underscore blank. Chapter 1723. Chapter 1728. Sending flowers. It's Jiangwen and Uncle Lin. Meng Yao frowned. Dad couldn't reject them. They're our old neighbors, so Jiangwen. Housen wants to treat you to a meal after being humiliated in the Noble House meeting. They're not trying to get close to Shielbro, are they? Yushu had seen House and leave the Noble House meeting, so she found it strange that House and was treating them to a meal all of a sudden. I'm not sure about that. Dad said that they're just business partners and old friends. They didn't mention anything else. Meng Yao shook her head. Doesn't matter. Let's go check it out tonight. Lin Yi said. If it's just a meal, then we'll eat. As for other things, we'll see. Soon, Peng Zhan called again, confirming the restaurant. It was a comprehensive buffet restaurant with different cuisines from different countries. Of course, the price wasn't cheap. At 5 at night, Lin Yi drove Meng Yao, Yushu, and Tang Yun to the restaurant they agreed on. They parked the car, and the four entered the restaurant. And Mingyue, Jiangwen, and Peng Zhan were already there, waiting at the resting area on the first floor. Peng Zhan waved his hand when he saw Lin Yi and the others. Yao Yao, you've gotten prettier in a few days. Jiangwen smiled as he took out a bouquet of flowers from somewhere and handed it to Meng Yao. Really? I haven't been resting well these past few days, and I don't look well. You should get a pair of glasses. Meng Yao didn't care at all for Jiangwen's praises, nor did she care about the flowers. Jiangwen was a little awkward. He didn't know why Meng Yao didn't like him. Weren't they getting along well when they were kids? Why did they become so distant after they grew up? He didn't seem to understand Meng Yao at all. In fact, if he looked at it from another angle, he didn't understand Meng Yao, but Meng Yao didn't understand him either. How could Meng Yao know what he was doing in the dark? Huh, Yao Yao, you really know how to joke around. But even if you don't look well, you're still pretty. Jiangwen smiled as he raised the flowers in his hand. Fresh flowers with a beauty for you. Give it to Lin Yi. Meng Yao didn't want to accept the flowers. Jiangwen paused. He wasn't gay, so why would he give the flowers to Lin Yi? But before he could react, the flower in Jiangwen's hand was already in Lin Yi's. Lin Yi divided the flowers into 3 portions and gave them to Tang Yun, Meng Yao, and Yushu. For you guys, thank you. Meng Yao happily accepted the flowers from Lin Yi, and Tang Yun and Yushu happily accepted them as well. Jiangwen gritted his teeth in anger, but there was nothing he could do. Let's go. I heard that Shu wants to eat steak, so I booked this buffet restaurant. The steak here is very authentic, and there are many snacks from all over the world. When they entered the restaurant, Jiangwen swiped his card. There was a total of 7 people eating, and it cost more than 20,000 yuan. The cost here wasn't low, and it wasn't lower than those high-class hotels. And that didn't include the drinks. If they wanted red wine, they would have to pay separately. The restaurant was very big, and there weren't many customers. The environment was very elegant, and there were small booths and private rooms. There was even a bar counter for customers to choose from. Old friend, we've been doing business together for a long time, but it's been a long time since we sat down and drank together like this. Mingwe smiled. Let's sit at a table, and let the kids sit at another table. We won't disturb each other. Howson's actions this time surprised Linny. The two didn't seem to have any awkwardness like they did at the Noble House meeting. It was as if the Noble House title didn't mean anything to House, and they really did treat Pingzhan this time to reminisce about the past. After all, the father and son didn't have the slightest intention of getting on Lin Yi's good side. This made Lin Yi sigh in relief. But at the same time, he was confused. Lin Yi was afraid that Mingwe would ask Pingzhan for them to join the Practitioners' Union. If Pingzhan really did ask, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to reject him. But now that worry was gone. But the two's actions made Lin Yi feel strange. Could it be that Mingwe and Jiangwen really didn't care about the Noble House title? Or did they have something else to rely on? As he was thinking, Jiangwen smiled at everyone. Let's sit here. Don't disturb the elders. With that, Jiangwen pointed at a rather large open booth not too far away. This booth was for 6 people, meaning that only 3 people could sit in a row. Jiangwen's arrangement meant that he wanted to sit next to Meng Yao. After all, Lin Yi and Tang Yun were a couple, and they couldn't be separated. Between Meng Yao and Yushu, one had to sit next to him. But as far as he was concerned, Yushu would either sit next to Lin Yi or Meng Yao. There was no way she would sit alone next to him. Meng Yao naturally understood what Jiangwen was thinking. But in this restaurant, it was either a 4 or 6 person table. If there were more people, they would have to go to a small room. Pengzhan and Mingwe weren't with them, so it wasn't appropriate for them to go to a private room. Hence, a 6-person booth was the best choice. But when they got close to the booth, Meng Yao said, "We girls can sit on one side. You guys can sit on the other side?" Lenny didn't mind, but Jiangwen was pissed. It took him so much effort to come up with such a good idea, and it was ruined just like that. But he couldn't say no right now. It'd look like he had bad intentions if he did. Sure, it doesn't matter where we sit. The most important thing is to eat. The food here is good, and there are snacks from all over the world. They're all very authentic. I've been here once, so let me be your guide, Jiangwen said as he picked up his plate like a gentleman. Jiangwen, your house and doesn't seem to be affected? Lin Yi couldn't help but ask. Jiangwen gave him a very strange feeling. House Kong and whatnot wanted to join the ranks of the noble houses, but Housen didn't seem to have that intention at all. Ha, Lin Yi, that's a different thing. We might have some conflicts and misunderstandings, but I'm the host right now. I'm treating Yao Yao's family to a meal. Give me some face, and let's not talk about this for now, Jiangwen said with a carefree smile. Hashtag target equals _blank. Chapter 17:24. You too. But Jiangwen moved closer to Lin Yi and lowered his voice. In fact, noble houses and whatnot don't really have much use for us, and our business is half black and half white. And keeping a low profile is the right thing to do. Conflict? Misunderstanding? Almost lost my kidney? Lin Yi said expressionlessly as he looked at Jiangwen. I'm a victim too. I lost a kidney too. Jiangwen smiled bitterly. You can't blame me. Lin Yi smiled faintly and didn't say anything else. Everyone knew what was going on, but Lin Yi had offended too many powers, and he didn't want to go against Jiangwen right now. Otherwise, Lin Yi wouldn't have come to this dinner. Jiangwen's firewolves were something that even Faubert didn't want to talk about. Evidently, they had a very strong background. Lin Yi would be an idiot to mess with a super gang like that. The group brought their plates to the buffet area. Since it was a buffet, they could choose how much they wanted to eat and what they wanted to eat. Jiangwen started introducing the food along the way. This is the Korean cuisine area. Yao Yao, what do you want to eat? I'll get it for you. With that, Jiangwen picked up a few pieces of Korean barbecued meat and put it on Meng Yao's plate. I don't want it. It's too oily. Meng Yao quickly moved her plate to the side, making Jiangwen feel a little awkward. But since he'd already picked it up, he couldn't just put it back. But Jiangwen didn't give up. He took 2 steps forward. There's Korean codfish here. It's not bad. I don't want it. It's too spicy. Meng Yao shook her head. Jiangwen put the codfish back on his plate. This beef is not bad. Do you want to try it? Jiangwen didn't want to give up. I don't want it. Meng Yao didn't want to explain. Jiang Wen put the beef tenderloin back on his plate. And so, Jiang Wen's plates piled up into a small mountain on the way, and he didn't find anything that suited Meng Yao's taste. He had no choice but to pass the plate back to the waiter and get a new plate. What Jiang Wen didn't recommend, on the other hand, was something Meng Yao randomly placed on her plate, making Jiang Wen regret his decision. It seemed that Meng Yao's taste was quite unique. After a moment of regret, Jiang Wen decided that he'd ask Meng Yao once every time it was a dish, but she'd always reject him. More and more dishes piled up on his plate, filling up 3 to 4 plates in one go. He'd asked the waiter to send them back a couple of times, but the waiter was still filling them up. But later on, Jiang Wen learned his lesson. He'd ask first, and if Meng Yao didn't want it, he wouldn't take it. But if Meng Yao wanted to eat it, she'd take it herself. Jiang Wen didn't even need to do anything. Jiang Wen didn't know what to do, so he continued asking. But Meng Yao stopped eating again. But Jiang Wen was comforted by the fact that Shu was helping him a little, or he'd have to change a couple more plates. This was the first time he felt that Yushu was such a good friend. After a turn, they came to the dessert area, and Jiang Wen's eyes lit up. He found something that could improve his relationship with Meng Yao. Jiang Wen quickly ran to a dessert stall and picked up a dessert, handing it to Meng Yao. Yao Yao, this is one of the specialties here. It's a very popular snack on the internet. What's this? Meng Yao frowned. It was quite scary. The thing in Jiang Wen's hand looked like a body part. It's called condor shao. Haha, it's very famous. Why don't you try it? Jiang Wen explained evilly. Ha, doesn't it look like a body part? I don't want it, take it away. Meng Yao glared at Jiang Wen. She didn't know what this guy was doing. What was he doing with this? Wasn't he just ruining her appetite? Jiang Wen didn't think that he'd make things worse. Wasn't this Meng Yao a little too innocent? The last time Jiang Wen came, he'd come with Tai Zhao and some other girls, and those girls have been fighting over the food, laughing and joking with Tai Zhao and Jiang Wen. Why was it that the effect was completely different now that it was someone else? Shu, do you want it? Jiang Wen asked awkwardly. Oh, I'll try it. Yushu thought that this thing was quite fun, but she didn't know if it tasted good. Jiang Wen passed the condor shao to Shu as if a heavy burden had been lifted off his shoulders. Shu didn't hold back and took a bite. Meng Yao felt her face blushing. This Shu really dared to eat anything. Is it good? Jiang Wen asked. He wanted to ask Meng Yao that question so that the two of them could flirt a bit more, but Yushu had already eaten him up. Jiang Wen wasn't interested anymore, so he just asked a question symbolically. It's all right, but it's not as good as Shield Bros. Yushu said. Jiang Wen paused, and Lin Yi almost tripped over as well. Tang Yun, on the other hand, looked at Lin Yi suspiciously. Shu, you've eaten Lin Yi's food before? Meng Yao felt that this was getting out of hand. How could the insensitive Yushu say something like that in front of everyone? I have. Yushu nodded with a straight face. Ahem. Lin Yi jumped as he looked at Meng Yao and Tang Yun, who were looking at him suspiciously. He quickly said, Shu, when did you eat? When I was at home. Yushu said. At home? Meng Yao glared at Lin Yi before turning to Shu with a serious tone. Shu, you need to make it clear. When did you eat at home? Where was I at that time? What was I doing? Meng Yao was thinking about it as well. She and Shu were together almost every day, and sometimes Tang Yin was there too. She and Lin Yi didn't have the chance to do anything. Could it be that he hid it from her at night? A few days ago, you were at home too. You ate it too. Yushu said. Huh? Me? Meng Yao almost dropped the plate in her hand. What kind of joke was this Shu playing at? When did she eat it? This time, Tang Yin didn't think that it was possible. If Shu and Lin Yi had something going on, she would believe it a little. After all, Shu was a bold person, and she had a crush on Lin Yi. Naturally, she would do anything. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1725. But Meng Yao was a person with strong principles. She wouldn't go along with Yushu, would she? Yeah, you ate it too. Yushu nodded. What did I eat? What did I eat? Meng Yao raged. Shu, what are you talking about? I'm not talking about anything. Shield Bro made us some snacks last time, and it was much better than the ones here. Didn't you eat a lot too? Yushu said innocently. Ah, Meng Yao blinked. She didn't know if she should laugh or cry. Was she thinking too much, or was Shu doing it on purpose? She blushed. She almost misunderstood Lin Yi. Oh, I know. Yao Yao, you're thinking the wrong thing. You must be thinking that it's the same thing you and Shield Bro did in the cave. Yushu blinked. What did I do in the cave? I was just helping him suck out the poison. Meng Yao quickly explained, afraid that Tang Yun would misunderstand. Jiangwen was a bit troubled. He didn't get to flirt with Meng Yao, but Lin Yi got to flirt with these people instead. He should have just burned the bird and eaten it. That would have saved him so much trouble. When did you cook it? Why didn't I eat it? Tang Yun kicked Lin Yi lightly. Holy Hall Lin Yi smiled bitterly at Tang Yun. Next time, I'll cook it for you alone. I'm not eating it. Tang Yun felt that Lin Yi's words were a bit ambiguous. Huh, Lin Yi smiled. I said the fire, not the bird. I won't eat anything. Tang Yun said. All right, let's go have a look. There seems to be steak that Shu likes. Jiangwen made 5 to 6 plates of food for himself. He didn't have the mood to ask Meng Yao about it anymore. Everyone picked up the food and went back to their seats. Yushu started digging in while Meng Yao and Tang Yun ate like a gentleman. Lin Yi was the same as Yushu, sitting there and eating. Lin Yi didn't care about other people's eyes at all. Tang Yun and Meng Yao smiled bitterly as they watched Yushu and Lin eating at each other's throats. These two were really a couple. They didn't care what other people thought of them, no matter where they went. Shield Bro, this is delicious. It's not as good as your cooking, but it's not bad. Yushu gave Lin Yi a piece of grilled steak. Lin Yi laughed and stuffed it into his mouth. Taketer Jiangwen was a little disdainful, but in his heart, he was still a little wary of Lin Yi. He wanted to mock him, but he didn't dare. Hao Sen's backing was much stronger than Lin Yi's. Even those hidden noble houses were nothing in front of the firewolves. But the relationship between House and the firewolves was only a guess. Most people thought that Hao Sen was just a normal businessman, and they were in between the black and the white. Jiangwen couldn't just bring up the firewolves, so he could only bear with Lin Yi for now. Remembering the purpose of this meal, Jiangwen turned around with a smile and looked at Meng Yao. Yao Yao, why do I feel like we've become so distant? Although some of my actions before might have displeased you, I actually like you. I want to pursue you. You didn't dislike me when I tried to please you before, right? It's different when we were young. Meng Yao looked at Jiangwen and sighed. Jiangwen bro, we're all grown up now. We're mature, and we should think more rationally. I've said it before, I've always treated you like a big brother. What you're doing won't end well. There's a saying, sincerity can open metal and stone. I believe that through my hard work, I'll be able to change your impression of me. Jiangwen said, if what I did before made you uncomfortable, then I'll apologize. I'm sorry. It's fine. Meng Yao didn't say anything else after hearing what Jiangwen said. Haha. And Lin Yi, I might have been targeting you before. I know now that you and Yao have nothing to do with each other. I'll still need your help in the future. Jiangwen said, oh, that's not a problem, but you have to pay me. I'm helping you with the information. I can't just do it for free, can I? Lin Yi agreed quickly. Of course. Jiangwen laughed. He thought that Lin Yi wasn't afraid of lowering his image in Meng Yao's heart. But this only confirmed his suspicions that Lin Yi and Meng Yao had nothing to do with each other. Jiangwen was a little embarrassed and angry about the Condor fire, but after thinking about it, he realized that Shu might have something going on with Lin Yi, but Meng Yao definitely didn't. This made things easier. He liked Meng Yao, and he wouldn't take Yushu even if she gave it to him for free. Oh, then give me 3 to 5 million first. Lin Yi said, you know my account number. 3 to 5 million? Jiangwen paused. This Lin Yi was too much, wasn't he? He was just brushing him off casually, and he was really asking for money? Besides, what did he think he was doing? 3 to 5 million? No way. Jiangwen bro, do you think 3 to 5 million is too much? Yao Yao is a miss from a rich family, and if you're stingy and marry her in the future, she'll have to suffer. You can't be that poor, can you? Yushu knew that Lin Yi was asking for money for the orphanage, so naturally, she cooperated. She and Ming Yao had already donated all their pocket money to the orphanage, so she couldn't help Linny much. Naturally, she would help Lin trick Jiang Wen. No, I mean, it's too little, Jiang Wen thought to himself. Fuck, I've earned a lot of money recently, but I've also given a lot to the Firewolves. 3 to 5 million wasn't a small amount. And the problem was this wasn't a problem that could be solved with just 3 to 5 million. Jiang Wen could only put on a sad face. Don't say 3 to 5 million, just 5 million. Isn't 5 million still 3 to 5 million? Isn't that a lot? Yushu asked. Jiang Wen's heart was filled with hatred. Fuck you. I'll let you be happy for now. Once I'm done with that thing, not only will House Chu's wealth be mine, but Ming Yao will be mine too. But on the surface, he smiled. Haha, you're right. 8 million it is then. That's more like it. Yushu nodded. When are you giving it to me? I'll make a call to transfer the money now. Haha, I'm a man of my words. This is just a small amount. Jiang Wen laughed. Jiang Wen was afraid that Yushu would say something else, so he quickly made the call. At the same time, Lin received the message that the money had been transferred. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1726. But Ming Yao said coldly after the transfer was done, You black sheep, spending so much money just to pick up girls? Or to scout for information? Whoever marries, you will be pissed to death. Wah. Jiang Wen paused, realizing that Yushu and Ming Yao were messing with him. Maybe Ming Yao didn't mean to mess with him, but she just happened to be helping Yushu and Lin Yi. Holy Hall, however, Ming Yao's actions made Jiang Wen very angry. He swore in his heart that he would get his hands on Ming Yao no matter what. He had to make sure that she would be on his side. Lin Yi and Yushu, on the other hand, ate quite a bit. Tang Yun and Ming Yao, on the other hand, only tasted a little. Jiang Wen, on the other hand, didn't eat much at all. Lin Yi and Yushu had already made him lose his appetite. Seeing that his father was almost done, he made a hand gesture to Jiang Wen, and the group prepared to leave. But just as they were about to leave, a waiter came over and said politely, Sir, you haven't finished your food yet. Can I not? Jiang Wen frowned. Holy Hall, but you have too much left. This is a waste, a shameful act. The waiter explained. How much? I'll pay you. Jiang Wen waved his hand impatiently. He would have lost his temper long ago if Ming Yao wasn't here. Sir, it's not a matter of money. You can leave if you don't want to finish your meal, but our cameras have already recorded your image. You will be displayed on the display board in the restaurant for a week as the subject of a shameful list. The waiter explained. Fuck. Jiang Wen couldn't take it anymore. I'm spending money to eat. Why would I be on the shameful list? Sir, this is a rule of the shop. It's a warning and punishment to customers who waste their food. We wouldn't pursue it if you only had a little left, but you have 6 plates of food left, and you haven't even finished? That's a bit too much, the waiter said politely. Jiang Wen was speechless. Brother Jiang Wen, she's right. We need to be thrifty and not extravagant. If you're so wasteful, who will want to marry you in the future? Yao Yao sis is a thrifty person. Yushu chimed in. I'll eat it before I leave, okay? Jiang Wen was furious, but he could only sit back down. You guys leave first. I'll sit here and eat slowly. That's for the best. The waiter nodded with a smile. And so, Lin left with Ming Yao, Yushu, and Tang Yin. And Ming Yue, on the other hand, had wanted to leave with Ping Zhan, but frowned when she saw that Jiang Wen was in trouble. She said to Ping Zhan embarrassedly, Looks like Jiang Wen's appetite is pretty big. Haha, old friend Chu, you'll have to go first. I'll wait here for a bit. I'll go to your company tomorrow to discuss the details. That's not a problem. I'll be leaving first then. See you tomorrow. Old friend, and Peng Zhan nodded with a smile. The two seemed to be having a good conversation, as if they were back to their old friendship. Peng Zhan, Lin Yi, and the others walked out of the restaurant together. Meng Yao was confused when she saw Peng Zhan's red face. Daddy, you seem to be having a good conversation with that uncle. Yeah, your uncle is planning to invest in a big project in Songshan, and he invited me to participate in it, Peng Zhan said excitedly. Our group's development has reached a bottleneck. It's easy to maintain our performance, but it's hard to expand. If your Uncle An's project succeeds, our group will rise to the next level. Daddy, you want to work with Uncle An? Meng Yao frowned. Their family doesn't do any proper business, right? Don't worry, Yao Yao. I know what I'm doing. I won't participate in anything illegal. We're talking about a proper business. There won't be any problems. Peng Zhan said. That's good. Meng Yao was just reminding him, but her father was saying that it shouldn't be a problem. After all, her father was a veteran in the business world, and he knew what he was doing. He was much stronger than Meng Yao. Lin Yi, on the other hand, wasn't too optimistic about the cooperation between Peng Zhan and Mingwei. He had the same worries as Meng Yao, but Lin Yi didn't say anything after Meng Yao asked. He might be the second largest shareholder of Peng Zhan Industries, but he didn't really care about the company's business. As a result, he didn't want to interfere in the company's business. Peng Zhan wouldn't participate in a problematic business, so Lin Yi didn't interfere. I heard from Yao Yao that you're bringing her, Shu, and Tangyan back to your hometown. Peng Zhan changed the topic and asked Lin Yi. Yeah, I plan to leave in a few days. Lin Yi said, Uncle Chu, is there anything I can help you with? It's nothing. I was planning to visit with you, but I've just finished a big project here, and I can't leave for a while. I'm sorry, Peng Zhan said apologetically. It's nothing. We're just going back for a vacation. Lin Yi smiled. But Uncle Chu, you should be careful of house and... Since the conversation had come to this point, Lin Yi took the opportunity to remind her. Of course, Peng Zhan said, the cooperation with House and is something I've thought about. On one hand, we're old friends and I can't let them go. On the other hand, I've seen this project and it'll be very profitable if it succeeds. It'll bring Peng Zhan Industries to a higher level. That's good. Lin Yi didn't say anything. Peng Zhan was a veteran in business, and Lin Yi didn't know a thing about it. He could solve some problems with violence, but he didn't have much of say when it came to business partnerships. In the parking lot, Lin Yi and Peng Zhan separated. Peng Zhan had Faubert pick him up, and Lin Yi drove back to the villa with Yao Yao and the others. He got 8 million from Jiangwen today, and it was enough for the orphanage. As for the other funds, Lin Yi could think of other ways. Lin Yi wanted to borrow some from Peng Zhan, but he heard that Peng Zhan was going to do a big project today, and Lin Yi didn't mention it again. Chapter 17:27. Not enough to earn. Daddy's acting a little weird today. Before, he kept his distance from Jiangwen's family, but now he's working with them again. Meng Yao complained after getting in the car. After all, she had more chances to meet Jiangwen, and it was troublesome to deal with him. I've heard of a saying, but I don't know if it's true, but in the business world, there are no true enemies and friends. As long as there's a common interest, enemies can become friends. Tang Yin said, I wonder if that's the case, Uncle Chu. I think so. Daddy's doing business is quite amazing. Meng Yao nodded. Tang Yin was talking about too many cases like this. Many companies that were suing each other turned into strategic partners in the blink of an eye. It wasn't a surprise that Peng Zhan and Mingwei were working together. Let's see. Uncle Chu should know what he's doing, Lin Yi said. Meng Yao nodded and didn't say anything else. After getting home, the group packed their luggage and went back to West Star Village with Lin Yi. Of course, they had to go shopping before they left. As the saying goes, before the army moves, the food moves first. Meng Yao wanted to buy some things and mail them back first to avoid the awkwardness of not having anything. It was still early, so Meng Yao and the group went to the supermarket. In the supermarket, Tang Yin was a little worried. She felt like an ugly daughter-in-law meeting her parents-in-law. She had been with Lin Yi for so long, but she hadn't visited Lin Yi's elders yet. Would old Lin, who raised him, like her? Besides, Tang Yin wanted to buy a gift, but she didn't know what to buy. She held Meng Yao's hand and asked hesitantly, Yao Yao, what do you think I should buy? Although Lin Yi said that we don't need to buy anything, it's still a thought, right? If I really go to his house without bringing anything, will he think that I'm immature? Well, I'm definitely going to buy it, but I can't really tell you what to buy. I don't know what Grandpa Lin likes. Meng Yao said, a little troubled. I don't know what he likes. Old man, it's nothing more than drinking and whatnot. Maybe we should buy some good stuff back. Yushu suggested. My grandpa likes to drink. That works too. I think people usually give these things to their elders. Meng Yao said, Daddy always brings these things when he goes to Grandpa's house. Then let's buy a bar. But what should I buy? Tang Yin hesitated, not knowing what to buy. Why don't we ask Lin Yi? He knows us the best. Meng Yao couldn't make up her mind. Lin Yi didn't go shopping with the girls, leaving the bodyguard role to Wu Qintian, who had just returned to Songshan. He himself went to the orphanage's place of residence. This was an old-fashioned residential area, very similar to the place where Chun Shi's family lived. The top floor of each building was the kind of six-story attic room. Although it looked like a duplex, in fact, because these buildings were built for too long, the condition of the top floor was very poor. Leakage was common, and the landlord, because the rent was cheap, would not be responsible for maintenance. Lin Yi couldn't help but shake his head when he saw this condition. It was really hard on these kids, and that miser, Yu Xiaoka, but whether she was a miser or a miser, she still lived in a place like this. She didn't want to spend a lot of money on building an orphanage. How could she live if she ran out of money? Sihua and Boss Zhu came to a simple agreement with the dean of the orphanage, exchanging a piece of land that was 5 times bigger than the orphanage's land. It seemed like the orphanage had a huge advantage, but that wasn't the case. The new land was located in a very remote area at the edge of the city. It belonged to the suburbs, and the price of the land was much lower than the orphanage's land. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that there was a difference of 5 times. The problem was that Sihua only calculated the price of the land and didn't include the original house. Sihua's reason was simple. The house was burned down, so how could he give him compensation? Exchanging land of the same value was a matter of course and was very fair. Although the dean wasn't willing, there was no other way. The house was gone, and she didn't have any bargaining chips in her hands. She had to do whatever Sihua said. Besides, Sihua didn't want to make a big deal out of this, so he didn't let the orphanage suffer any losses when exchanging the land. The problem was that the orphanage had a huge piece of land, and they didn't have the money to build it. This was the biggest problem. Sihua and Boss Zhu went back to the floating cloud bar, ready to take credit for what they did, but all they saw was a burnt-down area. Qibing, on the other hand, was sitting in an SUV not far away. Sihua jumped in fright as he ran to the SUV. Master Bing, what's going on? Is the bar on fire? Yeah, Qibing replied faintly. He didn't want to explain too much due to the humiliation. He was waiting for Elder Bai to heal him, and if it weren't for the fact that Elder Bai couldn't find another place, Sihua wouldn't be able to see Qibing. What's going on? Sihua asked. Since Elder Bai was coming, Qibing didn't want to explain too much. Nothing. How's it going on your side? Congratulations, Master Bing. Under the threats and promises of Boss Zhu and I, the headmaster of the orphanage finally gave in and agreed to exchange the land with us. Now the orphanage's land is ours, Sihua said quickly. Although the value of the land was about the same, Sihua was the one who got the better end of the deal. The land in the suburbs was useless to Sihua at all, and no one would buy it unless it was used to build a factory or something. But that was a rare occurrence, and Sihua's land was useless to him at the moment. Exchanging it to the orphanage was a huge win for him. Congratulations, my ass. Qibing couldn't hold it in anymore after hearing Sihua's words. Master Bing, we actually got the better end of the deal. That land is priceless. No one wants it. Sihua said carefully. Better? I lost 200 million to Lin Yi just because of this fire. Look, Lin Yi broke my leg, and the bar was burned down by Lin Yi. Qibing said, look at me, I've lost so much. You're still taking advantage? Hashtag. Chapter 1728. Sihua was dumbfounded after hearing Qibing's words. He didn't notice Qibing's leg when he was sitting here, but now he realized that it was all Lin Yi's doing. All right, it's enough that you know about it. Don't mention it again. I'll wait for Master to come and treat me. You know what to say then, right? Cheebing asked. Chapter 1734. I know, Master Bing. I'll take responsibility for this myself. You're an innocent victim, Sihua said with a serious face. And not bad. Cheebing nodded in satisfaction. Lin Yi pressed the doorbell. Ken was the one who'd given him the address, but he wasn't sure if it was correct or not. The buildings in this residential area didn't have numbers, and he'd had to ask around before finding this place. Soon, Xiaoka's voice came from the door. Who is it? It's me, Lin Yi, Lin Yi said. Lin Yi. Following Xiaoka's confused voice, the door was opened. Xiaoka's face was full of surprise. Why are you here? And why are you here? Xiaoka couldn't be blamed. She didn't tell Lin Yi about the orphanage, and even if Lin Yi heard about it on the news, he wouldn't be able to find his way here. Holy Hall, Lin Yi big bro, you're here. Xiao Qian ran out of the house and was very enthusiastic when he saw Lin Yi. Xiao Qian, did you tell him? Xiaoka wasn't stupid. She could guess what happened when she saw Xiao Qian and Lin Yi being so friendly. Xiaoka sis. Xiao Qian was embarrassed that Xiaoka exposed him. I just mentioned it casually, and Lin Yi big bro came to help. Casually mentioned it? He came? Xiaoka couldn't believe it. She glared at Xiao Qian. Tell me the truth. Did you ask Lin Yi to help? All right, I did, but Lin Yi big bro isn't an outsider. Xiao Qian lowered his head and mumbled. Not an outsider? Xiaoka's eyes widened. Could it be someone from the orphanage? Isn't he your boyfriend? Xiaoka sis. I was thinking, so I asked him to come. Xiao Qian said carefully. Xiaoka's face turned red. She wanted to say that, but Lin Yi wasn't her boyfriend. But saying it in front of Lin Yi hurt her self-esteem. Plus, Lin Yi was here to help. How could Xiaoka say something like that? It's not his fault. I asked to come. Lin Yi naturally knew what Xiaoka was thinking, but he didn't mind. I brought some money for you guys this time. Consider it as a solution to your urgent need. I heard that rebuilding the orphanage requires a lot of money, but I only have 8 million for now. You guys build a modern orphanage first and plan all the necessary facilities. I'll think of a way to get the funds later. Xiaoka nodded. Wow, Lin Yi big bro, you're the best. You came just in time. Xiaoqian didn't think that Lin Yi would send 8 million at once, and it was just the initial funds. There would be more later, too. He was extremely excited. He actually agreed to build a bigger orphanage as well. That way, they could take in more abandoned babies and homeless children. 8 million. Xiaoka looked at Lin Yi in shock. She couldn't understand why Lin Yi would suddenly send 8 million to the orphanage. Based on her understanding of Lin Yi, he wasn't that kind of person, was he? Was it really like what Xiao Qian said? Did Lin Yi misunderstand something? But didn't Lin Yi have a girlfriend? And he was still thinking about her? The dean of the orphanage, on the other hand, was happy to see Lin Yi's timely help, but she was also suspicious of Lin Yi's intentions. She didn't know about the male thief, so she thought that Lin Yi really had some kind of relationship with Xiaoka. It's already been transferred to the account you told me about last time. Lin Yi said, you can check, it should be in the account already. Lin Yi, you come with me for a second. Xiaoka gritted her teeth and decided to come clean with Lin Yi. She couldn't just take advantage of Lin Yi like this, could she? She didn't like him, and some things had to be made clear. Otherwise, if he really misunderstood, how could she repay him in the future? If she didn't have a male thief in her heart, she could just do what she said before and pay him back with her body. But she already had someone in her heart, and she didn't want to betray the male thief. That was why she wanted to make things clear with Lin Yi. Oh, Lin Yi paused. He really didn't think much of it. He really wanted to do something for the orphanage. Xiaoka's actions in the tomb deeply touched Lin Yi, and that was why Lin Yi was willing to help her. He didn't want Xiaoka to have anything in return. Otherwise, wouldn't it be better to send money as the male thief? Then Xiaoka might even repay him with her body, but that wasn't Lin Yi's original intention. But Xiaoka had already turned around and left the room, so he had no choice but to follow her. Yu Xiaoka closed the door in the corridor and stopped at the corner of the stairs. What's the matter? Lin Yi looked at Xiaoka oddly. Do you like me and want to please me? Xiaoka stared at Lin Yi and lowered her voice, biting her lips. Lin Yi paused. I like you? Please you? What are you talking about? Isn't that so? Then why are you giving us money for no reason? Xiaoka was confused by Lin Yi's reaction, but she didn't believe that Lin Yi was being nice. From her perspective, someone who did things for no reason must be hiding evil intentions. The two weren't close, and Lin Yi and the others had already done their best with that donation. There was no need for him to give the money now. Plus, the amount of money he gave this time was a lot more than the total amount he donated last time. Xiaoka couldn't help but be suspicious. To tell the truth, if it weren't for the fact that he had a deeper understanding of Xiaoka and the tomb, he wouldn't have bothered to give her money. It's all because of Xiao Qian, saying that you guys are in a difficult situation. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. What did you think? That you were thinking too much? I thought you had some ulterior motives. I have someone I like, and he's 1,000 times better than you. So if you have other motives, then don't think too much. Xiaoka sighed in relief after saying that. Lin, he was speechless. Someone you like is 1,000 times better than me? Are you saying that I have a split personality or something? Lin, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I know you have someone you like, and I don't like your skills. Chapter 1729. It's better if you don't like it. Xiaoka let out a breath of relief and smiled. I'm sorry, I almost misunderstood you. Are you really just here to help? Forget it, give me back my money. Lin, he didn't want to argue with Xiaoka and tried to scare her. No, Xiaoka needed money, and as long as she knew that Lin, he didn't have any other motives, how could a little money grubber like her give up the money so easily? I heard that you're going to take on some kind of mission? Lin, he asked. Xiao Qian told you? Xiaoka pouted. He's quite nice to you. Don't go. I'll think of a way to get the rest of the money for you. With your level, you might not be able to come back. Lin Yi said, if there's nothing else, I'll be going. I might have to go somewhere far. Tell Xiao Qian to call me if there's anything. With that, he turned around and went downstairs. He waved goodbye to Xiaoka and didn't stay for long. Since when did Lin Yi become so caring? Xiaoka looked at Lin Yi's back, confused. But suddenly, she blinked and rubbed her eyes, because in that instant, she realized that Lin Yi's back gave her a very familiar feeling. This feeling made her heart beat faster uncontrollably. But when Xiaoka wanted to take a closer look, Lin Yi's figure had already disappeared into the stairs of the next floor. Xiaoka couldn't see it, even if she wanted to. Xiaoka shook her head, not knowing why she had this feeling. But she didn't think much about it, and quickly went back to her room. Xiaoka sis, where's Lin Yi Gitch? Did he leave? Xiao Qian saw that Xiaoka came back alone and asked curiously. He's busy, so he left first. Xiaoka said. Then, did he say anything to you? Xiao Qian saw that Xiaoka's expression was very natural, as if nothing had happened between the two. He was a little disappointed. Xiao Qian saw Xiaoka as a goddess, but he knew that he wasn't good enough for her. Plus, this worship had nothing to do with love. Only a powerful person like Lin Yi could take good care of Sister Xiaoka. So, Xiao Qian was very optimistic about Lin Yi. The key was that he had promised Lin Yi to keep it a secret and not reveal his identity. Sister Xiaoka didn't seem to like Lin Yi very much, so Xiao Qian was anxious, but he couldn't say it directly, so he could only ask vaguely. Say what? Xiaoka looked at the worried expression on Qian's face and felt suspicious. I say, Qian, is there some secret between you and Lin Yi? What did he say to you? No. Qian shook his head determinedly. He'd promised Lin Yi that he wouldn't divulge anything. He was a man, so he naturally had to keep his word. Takitara. Then why are you asking me what he said to me and what he did? What do you know? Xiaoka still didn't believe him. I think that Lin Yi bro is a good guy. That male thief is too vague for you, Xiaoka sis. Lin Yi bro is more practical, right in front of you, Xiao Qian said. Anyways, I support you and Lin Yi bro being together. What do you know, kid? Xiaoka said helplessly. Plus, Lin Yi didn't mean that. He just wanted to do something good out of kindness. He has a girlfriend, so don't think too much. Oh, Xiao Qian had no choice but to keep his mouth shut. He thought that he should say some good things about Lin Yi to Xiaoka in the future. It would be useful. Just when the orphanage was celebrating with a large sum of money, the dean was a little worried. Xiaoka had explained that Lin Yi was just doing a good deed, but from the old dean's perspective, there was something fishy about this whole thing. Lin Yi's 8 million was a little too much. Even the dean couldn't believe that Lin Yi didn't have any ulterior motives, but Xiaoka said it with certainty, and Lin Yi didn't seem to have any ulterior motives. Could it be that he was thinking too much? But no matter what, they had money now. It was a good thing. Tomorrow, the dean could hire a design company to study the construction of the orphanage. He had just left Xiaoka's place when his phone rang. He thought it was Tang Yun and the others, but it was Ling Shan. Shan, you're back in Songshan? He was a little surprised. Yeah, I just came back. I still have work to do here, and I can't stay at the house all the time. Ling Shan paused, her tone a little weird. Plus, I was kicked out. Grandpa told me to meet up with you in Songshan. Meet up with me? Yi blinked. Why do you want to meet up with me? I want to pursue you. Do I have to make it so clear? Ling Shan was a little troubled. Grandpa thinks of you as the hope of our family's rise, and he wants me to stick to you. Huh? Then are you annoyed? Yi didn't know what to say. Of course not. I've always liked you. Ling Shan was the bolder type, admitting whatever she had. She wasn't shy at all. Let's not talk about that. You called to tell me that you're back? He wanted to contact Tang Yun and the others as soon as possible, so he didn't have time to chat with Ling Shan. No, I haven't been here for a few days, and I've got a few cases backlog. Can you help me? Ling Shan said, I knew you wouldn't call me for anything good. Using me as free labor? I'll be going out for a few days, so I don't have time. Yi said, help me, please. Ling Shan's tone was a little coy as she said to Yi, I really have a lot of cases to take care of, and I can't handle all of them. Can you help me with one? Tell me about it. He couldn't take it anymore. Recently, there's a new gang active in Songshan. They're using street kids and kidnapped children to steal, but on the surface, they're just street performers. I can't do anything to them because I don't have any evidence. Aren't you close with Xiaoka? Can you ask the orphanage if there's any news about it? Ling Shan and Xiaoka weren't on good terms. She knew that Xiaoka was a thief for the orphanage, so she let her off the hook. However, Ling Shan didn't want to approach her proactively, so she could only ask Lin Yi for help. Chapter 1730. After all, the orphanage should have had contact with the kidnappers before. These small gangs would buy some orphans from illegal orphanages to help them commit crimes. Of course, Xiaoka wouldn't do something like that, but these people might have had contact with Xiaoka before. Oh, okay. I'll keep an eye out for you, Yi said. But it's hard to say if there's any news. Okay, thank you so much. Contact me if there's any news, Ling Shan said. He shook his head and hung up. As expected, Tang Yun's call came in as soon as he hung up. Where you guys? I'm done here. I'll come find you guys. He asked. We're at the supermarket we always go to. Tang Yun said, I want to buy Grandpa Lin a present, but I don't know what to get. What do you think I should get? For him? There's no need for that, right? Yi and old Lin didn't have much of a relationship, and he hadn't bought anything for him all these years. In fact, Yi didn't have much money in his pocket, and other than some living expenses, he gave the rest to old Lin. Holy Hall, how can I do that? Mom said that I need to buy something when I'm meeting an elder for the first time. Tang Yun thought that if someone as stingy as her mom said that, then it had to be a very important etiquette. Then let's buy a few bottles of erguo too, Yi said after some thought. Old Lin loved drinking, but he couldn't bear to buy it. He always brewed his own wine, and only when he ran out of wine would he go to Widow Wong's store and buy a bottle of erguo too to satisfy his craving. But to be honest, old Lin's medical skills were great, but his brewing skills weren't that great. The alcohol he brewed wasn't high, and so he preferred ergo too. He used to compete with Yi in drinking, but he couldn't get drunk after 1,000 cups. So he said, it's a waste for you to drink ergo too. Drink some water with me. Ergo too? Tang Yin paused. She knew that this kind of alcohol was cheap. Her father used to drink ergo too by himself when his leg was broken, so it couldn't be expensive. Wasn't it a little inappropriate to give it to an elder? Yeah, buy a box for him. He likes to drink ergwo too and eat fennel beans the most. Linny said, if you buy other foreign wines, he won't be used to it. Oh, all right then. Hearing Lin Yi's determination, Tang Yin could only nod and agree. Wait for me. I'll go find you. Lin Yi went downstairs and drove to the supermarket. At the same time, in the cafeteria, Jiang Wen was eating with a bitter face, and Mingyue was helping him. And Mingyue couldn't bear to let his son eat alone, so he ate with him. If it wasn't for the fact that Jiang Wen was afraid of being filmed, he would have smashed the plate and left already. But if this was really put on display, his name, as the Songshan young master, would have been humiliated. Dad, how was it? Did it go well? Jiang Wen tried to find a topic to talk about as he ate. Very well. And Mingyue said, that hypnotist is really good. Pengzhan believes everything I say. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have been able to invite Pengzhan out so easily. I didn't expect him to be able to hypnotize people over the phone. Haha, of course, that's a powerful person the vice leader sent to help me get money. He's very powerful along with Professor Een and the others. They're all core members of the Firewolves. Jiang Wen said proudly. He can even hypnotize an idiot, let alone a normal person like Pengzhan. Jiang Wen, your position in the Firewolves has already surpassed mine. You've done well. Who knows, you might even be able to enter the core of the Firewolves in the future. If that happens, our house and we'll have a bright future ahead of us. And Mingyue praised. And Mingyue really didn't know what to say about this son of hers. He was much braver than Njinda, and the things he did seemed to be impulsive and stupid. But every time he did something, he would get huge amounts of money for the Firewolves. And Mingyue didn't know what to say. But if you let the hypnotist and Professor Een do private things for us, would they have any objections? And Mingyue lowered his voice and asked, them? I'm in front of them right now, and my words carry weight. I need to get some benefits for my house when I'm doing things for the Firewolves. Jiang Wen shook his head and said proudly, I'm resting now, and they have nothing better to do. Even if the Firewolves find out, they won't say anything. My contribution to the Firewolves is hundreds of times more than the others. That's true. And Mingyue sighed. His son had the right to be proud now. He could use all the core resources of the Firewolves, and it showed how much the Firewolves valued him. What he said wasn't wrong. While earning money for the Firewolf gang, earning some money for his own family was nothing. This time, I need to make sure that Pengzhan has nowhere else to go. That's the only way I can make Meng Yao marry me. Jiang Wen's eyes burned with desire as he thought about it. Jiang Wen, with your current status and power, what kind of girl can't you get? Why are you so obsessed with Meng Yao? And Mingyue didn't understand what his son was thinking. Although House Chu had Linny behind them, and they looked powerful, and Mingyue didn't really care about them. They were just a noble house, and Mingyue didn't think much of them, even though they were a hidden noble house. As far as he was concerned, Meng Yao was just a poor young miss after he took over Pengzhan's businesses. Was there a need for Jiang Wen to care about her so much? Father, you don't understand. It's a childhood obsession, Jiang Wen said. If I can't get Meng Yao, I'll always regret it. Maybe after I get her, I'll think that it's nothing, but if I can't get her, I'll never be satisfied. All right, if you want to do it, then do it. You're all grown up now. You know what you're doing. And Mingyue stopped trying to stop him. Right, make sure you do a clean job on taking over Pengzhan Industries. Don't let House Chu know about it. I don't want to be the bad guy and make Meng Yao hate me. Jiang Wen said, I want her body and her heart. Don't worry, I'm a veteran in the business world. I can handle things like this. Plus, with the help of a hypnotist, there won't be a problem. And Mingyue said, that's good. Jiang Wen nodded in relief. Right, I heard that big bro of mine isn't satisfied and came back to work. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.